What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Terror Table for episode 111. I'm one of the hosts that you hear every single week, and alongside me, as always, is...
Buzi.
Buzi. And today, Diego couldn't be with us. He was planning on being here today, but the last minute something came up, and so we're just going to continue on. We were planning on doing this episode with just the core group of Terror Table members, but we figured that sometimes Craig is better. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming back returning guest, the creative director for Roll Call Radio, writer, editor, and creator and president of the feedbacksociety.com, Craig Silliphant.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Welcome back, Craig. Last time Craig was on, we talked about Dawn of the Dead. That would have been about a year ago to this month, I'm pretty sure. It's close to that. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But today, we are going to be talking about the new adaptation of Pet Sematary, which came out last week. Yeah, so it's fresh in our minds. We all went and saw it together. Diego was there, so Craig can confirm that Diego is a real person.
I did see Diego there,
You saw him in person,
I met Diego, in fact.
Yeah, and yeah, he was bummed he couldn't be here today, but the show must go on. So before we get on to what we've been seeing and what we've been doing and news, and then our main feature, I'm going to announce what we're up to for the next couple of weeks, what you can expect from the Terror Table. So this coming Sunday, April 14th, we are going to be recording Chapter 2 of our book club episodes. And then after that, we're going to be kicking off a new series like we did with... we plan on doing 3-part series off and on throughout the next year. So like we plan on trying to keep to it this time and choosing an overall theme and, inviting our friends back on, inviting other guests, and just talking about a specific type of subgenre. And the first one that we are going to tackle is found footage, which was Buzi's choice. Mm-hmm. And we've each picked a movie, and we plan on bringing on guests for a few of them. We know that Thomas Winemaster, who's on our episode for In the Mouth of Madness, is going to be returning with us.
He writes for the Feedback Society, too.
I was just about to say that.
Right.
Yeah, he's a Feedback Society
Just making sure you're on your toes.
Yeah, Feedback Society contributor and friend of that dickhead, Jeff. But yeah, he's going to be on for our episode in which we're going to be talking about Buzi's choice, The Tunnel.
Yeah.
So now we're giving you ample time to check out these 3 movies. So Buzi's choosing The Tunnel. After that, Diego has chosen the Poughkeepsie tapes. We've been talking about doing that one for a long time, so this seems like a good idea. And I have chosen Ghost Watch, which is one that I've wanted to watch with you guys for a while, get more people to see. It's available on Shudder. So once again, that's The Tunnel, the Poughkeepsie tapes, and Ghost Watch.
There is a reason why we picked those ones more specifically. We had kind of had a discussion, like, we're not gonna pick the easy choices for found footage.
We're not going to choose the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, or Wreck or something like that.
Like Paranormal Activity. We're trying to dig a little deeper here and find ones that not everybody has seen. And so far, I think out of the 3, Diego's one, the Poughkeepsie tapes, is the one that I hear come up most often, but still I know so few people who have seen it. I've seen it, and I'm dreading watching it again. That's not to say it's bad.
Cropsey one?
No, that one's just called Cropsey, I think.
Okay.
The Poughkeepsie tapes is just something brutal. It's
something.
Yeah,
yep.
like, I'm not saying I don't like it's bad, because it's effective. That's all I'll say. But yeah, that's all the housekeeping to get out of the way for now. So I guess we can move on to our show. So we're going to talk about what we have been up to in the horror world. Who would like to go first?
I guess since Diego's not here, I'll go.
Sure.
I haven't really watched anything horror related. The only thing I've watched...
here we go again.
Yeah, the only thing I've watched since that... No, not American Pie. I rewatched Sicario.
Okay.
Which I cannot recommend enough. What a fucking awesome movie.
Have you seen Sicario 2 yet?
I have not.
The Day of the Soldado?
Yeah.
It looked so goofy.
Oh, man. I fucking loved it.
Is it good?
It's good, but it's brutal. Like, it's it's brutal and brutally violent. It's not, of course, nowhere near as good as the first one.
Is it like
a huge? It's worth a watch.
Is it huge step down or no?
No, not at all. It's not a huge step down, but it's kind of trashy or it's kind of racist. Actually, I don't know. I don't want to get too far into that, but it's fucking wild. I had a great time watching it.
I don't know, because like the best part of Sicario is by far the gridlock scene where they're stuck in traffic. Like that whole part, I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah. See, the problem is like what's so great about that scene is like that's like a standout scene in the movie. So Day of Soldado, there's like so many scenes like that.
Oh,
like
wow.
So it's they like up the action. It's less like tension and
okay.
But I don't know. It's worth a watch.
That's all I got. I've been
fucking it.
diligently reading, and that's about it. Yeah.
Perfect. Craig, you want to go next?
Sure, yeah, I can throw some stuff out there. So I recently saw Happy Death Day to You, maybe like a week or so ago.
And you'd seen the first one, right?
I'd seen the first one, and I thought the second one was fun. I liked the first one, actually, and I thought the second one was fun. Definitely some funny... It was almost like more of a science fiction movie than it was a horror movie compared to the first one, anyway. Definitely like callbacks to stuff like Back to the Future, and it kind of reminded me in parts of like Time Crimes, if you've ever seen that movie. But I also saw the Puppet Master, Littlest Reich. Yeah.
As Craig Zoller written movie?
Yeah, that one was okay. I actually was like, oddly enough, I like, what's his name, Thomas Lennon. Yeah, I was like into the story a little bit when the killing started.
Yeah.
So like, and I don't know, some of the killing there's some really great like kills and stuff in it, but it kind of, the movie itself kind of gets boring at that point, I think, other than the kill stuff.
It has like one of the most brutal killings though, like ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
There's so much crazy shit in that movie.
Yeah. I also saw one that I've seen before, but I haven't seen in a really long time, and it's borderline a horror movie, but I think the fans of this podcast would like it. It's called Citizen X, and it's an HBO movie from, I don't want to say mid-90s, about one of the most famous serial killers in Russian history.
Andrei Chikatilo?
Andrei Chikatilo. So the story itself is about the serial killings that he was carrying out in Russia, sort of at the height of the Cold War. But the problem was the guy trying to investigate the case, the government didn't want to give him what he needed because they didn't want to admit that Russia would have a serial killer, because that is Western problem.
Yeah, it kind of goes against their code and staples,
right?
As a
and
country.
So, and even by like he wanted to ask for help from like the FBI profiler division and stuff, which would have been kind of just really hitting its heyday by that point. And of course, doing that would admit that like to the West that we're the same as you and we're not superior. So this guy went on to kill like 53 people, I want to say, and it's a really good early HBO movie. So, and it, like, I hadn't seen it in years, but I think it held up to what I remembered about it.
Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't. Is it fairly graphic, or?
It's not as graphic as the real
Yeah.
story,
Well,
oddly
obviously,
enough.
yeah.
Like, because I studied some of that stuff in university, and like he did some stuff that they. I would say there's a few graphic scenes or moments in it, but not like Puppet Master graphic or something.
Well, I was just wondering if they kind of left it more to be implied, because obviously I haven't seen it myself. So.
Yeah. There was a part at the beginning where they kind of explain some of the stuff that had happened to some of the victims, and they kind of do it really clinically and really quickly, and then not again for the rest of the movie. So it kind of gives you a bit of that, but not like what the guy really did was some crazy stuff. So it's like
that kind of reminds me of even those Bundy tapes. They kind of gloss over a lot of the more twisted shit and just kind of go more factual. I guess.
Yeah. So
Courtney's seen Citizen X because you recommended it to us, and like we plan on watching it again. Like I haven't seen it, but so Andrei Chikatilo, Jeffrey DeMunn plays him, who's like he's a real likable guy from The Walking Dead, one of the only ones. Well, who did he play again? Was it Dan? Like, do you remember? Because you still watch that show.
I can't think of the character's name. Oh, it's Dale. That's
Dale.
What it is. Yeah.
He was like the one likable character in that show. Courtney loves that movie. So
and then it's like Stephen Ray plays the main investigator guy, and Donald Sutherland is his boss. So
Max von Sydow.
Max von Sydow's in it too. That's
crazy.
Right. So it's a great cast, and it is like it's a made. I'll say made for TV, but it was HBO. But before HBO was what we think of as HBO.
1995.
So definitely we're checking out. And then the last thing I would mention is I made my wife watch Creepshow this week because it was good. She had never. I don't think she'd seen it before. I'd seen it like a million times, but I hadn't seen it in a while, and I got that. I want to say it's a Scream Factory release.
Yeah, it's
so it's all like remastered in 4K
the steelbook and everything.
It's it's not a steelbook.
It's like a big book though.
Yeah, it comes with a little book essay inside it too. So it looked as great. It's funny that you watch some of these movies. Like I've seen that movie a million times. I probably saw it a ton on VHS as a kid. And so you watch something like this, and this is like the best anyone's ever seen this movie look ever anywhere. including its like original release in theaters. So
Totally. I have both versions of Scream Factory and the just original Blu-ray release of it, and the original Blu-ray release looks like shit.
right.
Like, it's crazy how much Scream Factory but like spiffed that thing up.
Yeah.
So,
and I
yeah.
haven't even gone through all the like. There's 2 commentaries,
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of special features. So, but it's a fun movie, and it really brings those EC comics
Yeah.
alive in a fun way. And I think I wanted to watch it because it was right on the heels of like Pet Cemetery,
Yeah.
so I was in a little bit of a like goofy
King.
Stephen King mood.
Yeah. So did your wife like it?
Oh yeah, she liked it. I don't know that she loved it,
Yeah.
but
Because that's one of the
she
ones.
got that it was fun.
Yeah, like Courtney watches absolutely everything with me, but like she can't handle bugs. And,
Right.
Like, the roaches and
Yeah.
shit and that, like especially roaches. Like she will never watch Mimic. So,
Oh.
but yeah, I don't know. I really want to get her to watch it because it's a classic as far as I'm concerned.
I found it funny. I read in the booklet that the original cut of that movie was over 3 hours long, like the assembly cut, basically.
Yeah.
And so they had to cut it down by like an hour, and they didn't want to take any of the stories out. So some of those things, I think, especially the Jordy Verrill, the Stephen King one, is quite a bit shorter than what it was originally. But I almost think that's good because that story's pretty tight the way it happens. So
absolutely. Cool. That's everything you've seen?
yeah, other than what we're going to talk about. So.
Okay, cool. And I know that you've actually seen what I'm going to be talking about as well, so you can hop on in as well if you want. But first things first, I got Ghost tickets. I'm going to see Ghost in September 24th in Calgary. I've talked about that band a lot on the show. They're one of my favorites, and I've never seen them live, so very excited. My sister Tara, one of the Tara Table book club hosts, she's coming with me. Courtney's coming, a couple other friends are coming. It's going to be awesome. So you can look forward to hearing me gush about that when I get back. Other than that, I watched the first 2 episodes of Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, I watched that too.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit, because this is... Okay, so without a doubt, the reboot has a little bit of... The reason why it exists a little bit is because of Black Mirror. Is that how I'd feel? Like,
Sure.
It's popularized that whole format, like, or at least it's brought it back to people's attention. But I don't know, like, did you grow up with Twilight Zone?
I did, and in fact, I own the the seasons on Blu-ray now.
I
They
wanna
were all
get that.
cleaned up and remastered, and it's amazing. And so I've watched it through 2 or 3 times since I bought those. I love those episodes, especially there's one season where they were an hour long, but
Yeah.
the half-hour episodes, like, again, they're just so tight because you got to get from point A to point B so quickly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and like, so this is a CBC show, and like, I didn't actually know that there was a Forrest Whitaker Twilight Zone as well. Did you know about that? It was,
Yeah, like, is that the 90s one?
Yeah,
Early
it, like,
2000s, wasn't it?
90s? I think, like late 90s.
I think the Twilight Zone one was 90s. I'd have to look it up, but
Yeah, but either way, like,
there was an Outer Limits that was like
Yeah.
90s, 2000, somewhere in there, like a reboot to that too.
Yeah. Yeah, so Twilight Zone, the first episode is called The Comedian, and it starred Kumail Nanjiani. I don't know, I saw some of your tweets, so generally, can you fill people on how you felt about it?
Like the first episode,
Yeah.
I really liked the
Did you
first
see them
episode.
both?
I saw them both, yeah.
Okay.
I really liked the first episode. I thought, I think what I said was it looked as good as like True Detective or something,
Yeah.
like the cinematography and everything. And it's not a real sweeping story. It's about a comedian who, without giving too much away, sort of figures out that by pandering a little bit, he can be funny and people will like him, but it also has consequences in his life in terms of the things he jokes about. So I thought it looked good, and then I thought the story was a good premise. It's something like, we're talking about Stephen King today, obviously.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of, like, and maybe this is giving too much away, but it reminded me of like WordPress Processor of the Gods, a Stephen King story. But I liked, how the story went. First, he kind of like it explored. It's always good on these shows when they explore the arc properly, and it's like he starts out by kind of realizing it's happening, and then it freaks him out a little, and then he leans into it and going like, how. But of course, that has like dark consequences. So overall, out of the 2 episodes, I actually thought the first one was the much stronger episode.
Holy man, we totally disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I feel I don't know, like, I was fine with the first episode, but to preface it, I talked about the Twilight Zone a little bit last episode, because I recently watched Mirror Image and The monsters are on something street.
Yes,
like,
I know which one you mean.
Yeah,
it's like Robinson Street. Maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
That one's a good one.
Yeah, it was really good. But the thing about like that's like I said before that it's being compared. Like people are comparing it to Black Mirror, and I don't think that's entirely fair because I do think while they share a little bit of similarities, it's a completely different kind of. Like they use the same similar engine, but they're not the same show at all. And like something I mentioned on the last episode is like there were, and it wasn't even like a negative thing, but I felt like in the Twilight Zone, like you have to suspend some disbelief in this. Like it is a science fiction horror show where they're going to like give you answers to things that you probably know that they wouldn't have those answers. Like I felt like one of my criticisms was that like the characters always weirdly knew exactly what was going on, and it's like something that's like there's no way you've given this thought before today. Yeah, and that's another like that's something that like I didn't hate the comedian, but I felt like it was a weird like place to start. I'm a big fan of Kumail Nanjiani, and I thought he did great, but I just felt like the problem that I had was its length. I felt like because that was like they were leading off with an hour-long episode. I'm like, this is the one that they're going to spend an hour on. Like, there's a lot of the same shit over and over again, and I get that that's part of the story, but I just feel like it wasn't as it like if people are going to compare it to Black Mirror, like this is nowhere near as eventful as something.
Yeah,
like that.
No, for sure. I liked it, but I definitely wouldn't like compare it hugely favorably to Black Mirror.
Well, and that's the thing is like the show's getting demolished by critics right now. Like I don't know if you're like the Hollywood Reporter wrote like a really scathing review, and it's like I was surprised by that because like you said, I think it's really well shot and it's really well acted, and like it looks good and the ideas are there. Like they're not it's not a completely original idea. You even mentioned a couple other stories, but it's still like they're doing their own little thing with it. And I enjoyed it for what it was, but I really liked the second episode, which was Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, which is a reimagining of the
reimagining.
Yeah, this is the third or fourth time.
This is the third time.
Yeah, because
Nightmare on 20,000 feet.
Yeah, exactly. That was the Richard Donner one. Was the first one, and then there was the John Lithgow one.
It's Bill Shatner.
Oh yeah, and then which one?
And then John Lithgow. He's in the movie.
Okay, yeah.
So it's in Twilight Zone, the movie. They do that segment, and John Lithgow plays the Bill Shatner character.
That's what it is. Yeah, but so that's the other thing is so this is the one where it's probably the most famous episode of the Twilight Zone. I would say. Like,
yeah, it's definitely one of them. Yeah,
because as I think also partially for our generation, like the younger generation, like The Simpsons played off it huge.
Yep.
But I thought it was like really well paced, and this was a shorter episode, and I felt like they got to the point. I didn't entirely love like the ending of it, like where it went. I didn't think that they needed that, and I feel like they kind of complicated things a little bit. But overall, it's just like I'm happy to have this new iteration of Twilight Zone, even though like not every single episode's going to be a 10 out of 10. Like you got to keep in mind that CBC doing it or CBS, yeah. Like though they're like generally known for studio interference.
Yeah.
So, like, I just thought Peele was a great host, and I thought the acting was really good across the board. But I felt like the second episode was a lot more, like, intense.
Yeah, well, and it definitely benefited from being shorter. I mean, I think I felt like they had to do something new with that premise, having done it twice already.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did, and like, I don't mind some of that. Like I guess the whole like MP3 thing instead of like the gremlin on the wing.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the episode, he basically hears Dan Carlin from Hardcore History actually narrating like the crash of flight 1015 or whatever the flight number was, rather than a guy seeing a gremlin on the wing. And so he's like checking in with this podcast, and it's kind of matching up in real time to what's going on. I thought maybe like I said, I appreciate that they had to change that, but it also felt a little bit like, hey, what are the kids into these days?
Yeah,
MP3s, let's make it about that.
And
you know
podcasts.
What I mean? Yeah, and podcasts.
He's got his zoo note.
Yeah. And so, but whatever. I was fine with that. I liked it. It was shorter, but I hated the ending. I thought it was stupid. And,
and it was also a little bit like I
wasn't necessary.
I got what was happening, but I was still confused. I was like, this is where we're going to end it. But like, that's where... I don't know. I think like I read around on like some other reviews, and people are just fucking obliterating this thing, like both episodes, and apparently the next two are like worse.
Well, it's funny. Like I didn't find them that bad.
Yeah.
I actually like appreciated them to some degree, but I also have watched a lot of that type of television.
Yeah.
Like not just. It's interesting you're talking about show lengths. The Twilight Zone ones, they are so tight, sometimes almost too tight, because stuff has to happen in a way that's unnatural because it needs to happen quickly.
That's why there's that exposition.
They need to make those weird connections, or there's kind of clunky dialogue. But when I actually bought the Outer Limits, like 60s series, after I finished the Twilight Zone, going like, I need more. And those ones are like, would have been an hour broadcast time, so it's probably 52 minutes or something. And they're too long. Like there's just so much crap filler in there. And part of the fun of even the Twilight Zone episodes, like once you've watched like 5 seasons worth, when you're watching it, you're just going like, okay, what's the twist? Like from 5 minutes in.
Exactly.
And when you can see that in a 50-minute show 5 minutes in, it's like,
that's
oh my
fun.
God.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I appreciated what this one did.
And like I also like I didn't hate the comedian one, but I think what I didn't like about like because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but like it was another one of those ones where I'm like I get the point of it, but it's just like it was cringy to watch at a lot of parts, like because he's telling jokes that are like not funny,
right?
And it's just killing. Like people are just like losing it. And I couldn't help, like, I don't know, just something that it didn't sit well with me. And I know that that's not the point of the story. The whole point is him giving up pieces of his soul, basically. But I also, like, within, like you said, within 5 minutes, like, within those first 5 minutes, when you get the general premise of what the episode is, I called exactly what was going to happen.
Sure.
And I don't think that you're, like that doesn't mean I think I'm a genius.
No,
because,
it's like
it's
not,
pretty fucking obvious.
Yeah, it was
kinda.
probably easy enough to.
Yeah, and it's like I think I've come to expect a little bit more from the people who are putting their names on this thing.
Yeah.
Even though like I know I just talked about last week that people have unrealistic expectations of Jordan Peele, and I was like, wow, I am once again contradicting myself.
Right.
I'm expecting more, but I hope they pick up a little bit more, and I plan on watching every single episode. But I still think people should check it out, and I think people are being a little too hard on it for the most part. But going on from that, I watched episode 2 of What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes, I did too, yeah.
So you've seen both
two episodes, yeah.
So I watched the pilot 3 times. Like,
right.
I fucking loved the pilot, and I loved the second episode too. Like, but I think the pilot's a little bit stronger.
I would say that. I would agree with that.
But
sure.
it's still good. Like, there's still...
Yeah.
I'm just getting so much... It's like, I'm just so happy that I'm living in a world now where I'm getting more What We Do in the Shadows, and, like, so frequently. And, like, I'm loving, like, the new characters that they're adding to the show. The one that really stood out the last time I watched it was the energy vampire.
Oh, yeah. That's a great addition, for sure.
Like, there's one character who's an energy vampire, and he lives with the vampires, but he's just a normal dude who bores. He's the only one who could defeat a vampire because he drains them of their energy just through conversation. Just like being boring.
Well, like in the second episode, they go to a city council meeting for whatever reason, and he's like, oh, I'm going to have a mega feed here because it's like the most boring.
Yeah. So like his eyes glow red though. Like, so he's a monster, but it's fucking hilarious. Like, I think everyone who watches it is going to be like, oh man, that is this dude.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows an energy vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so it's genius. And I love the characters.
He's more like a character from The Office.
Totally.
Like, plopped into the middle of this vampire setting.
Yeah. Oh man, it's fucking funny. And he actually is a character in The Office. I can't remember what his name is.
Oh, does he? Okay.
He's in like the later seasons of The Office.
Gabe.
No. Fuck. Gabe is an energy vampire though. Like, that's a good example. Okay, going on from that, I'm going to trim this down. I'm just going to talk about one more thing, and then we'll get on to news. Courtney and I just got into the Santa Clarita diet. We started on Friday. I started the show when it first came out. I watched 5 episodes, and I didn't like it at all. Like,
I did the same.
I couldn't get into it. I was just like, I think it was like the whole energy of the show, something about it just wasn't clicking with me then. We gave it another try on Friday because people keep on talking, like, people are raving about the show on other podcasts I listen to and like other sites that I read, and like people seem to love the show. So I'm like, what am I missing here? Either way, we started it on Friday and we are now almost done season 3. Like, we fucking love it. And it does get
Stockholm syndrome, man.
I think it's because I want to laugh and I need something kind of light and goofy. Have you seen Santa Clarita Die?
No.
Because I think it's something that you'd probably get a kick out of.
Well,
but
I think part of it is just how handsome Timothy Oliphant is.
Yeah,
it really adds to it.
Yeah, so it's Drew Barrymore, Timothy Oliphant, then there's like there's appearances from Nathan Fillion, who eventually like he's in the show. I'm not going to spoil anything. There's Alan Tudyk, Tom Lennon, Patton Oswalt, Matt O'Leary, which is the kid from Frailty. He's in this, and Portia de Rossi. There's a whole bunch of other ones that just happen throughout the show, and you're like, oh, there's recognizable people playing like little bit roles.
Wait,
in
Patton
this.
Oswalt's in that?
Patton Oswalt's
Man,
in.
that means that they like opened the door for like guys like David Cross to be in there then, because those guys all run in that same, or Brian Posehn.
Oh man, there's like tons of people like that. But yeah, Drew Barrymore and Timothy Oliphant, they play a married couple who are real estate agents. Barrymore suddenly gets violently sick one time during a showing of a home and develops a craving for raw meat, which then quickly escalates to her only being able to eat human flesh. So the whole show is based on like the shenanigans of two normal Santa Clarita real estate agents who now have to like if their family's gonna survive, he has to help her kill people, and she has to eat them. Like, she's a zombie, but she's not a conventional zombie at all. She's still normal. She just becomes like more like, do you know Drew Barrymore and Timothy Oliphant have both been typecast to a certain extent, like as like the kind of zany out there people who all of a sudden say something vulgar and it's like, oh, it's funny because they're being vulgar and they're Drew Barrymore, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I feel like this is Timothy Oliphant and Drew Barrymore in peak form. Like, this is like everything that they have done in the past to be typecast in, they're doing this, and it's natural here, and they feed off of each other, and they're great together. And I realize I have a Drew Barrymore thing now. I never knew I had a Drew Barrymore thing, but fuck me, do I have a Drew Barrymore thing.
You mean after seeing all those Adam Sandler movies, you didn't develop it then?
Well, I had a little thing after. The Wedding Singer is a great movie.
50 First Dates?
50 First Dates is not a great movie. But no, like, I don't know, Drew Barrymore, but she always does the same shit. Like, she's had her few other movies where she kind of branches out, but for the most part, she kind of seems to be typecast these days. And she's no different here. She's just like the best version of that. And it's actually funny. And I don't know, Courtney and I have been, and that's the other thing too, it's 25-minute episodes, so I've been easily just crushing them. It's light, it's insanely stupid. Like, you have to, it's kind of, like, I compare it to The Burbs, like, and I don't know how you feel about The Burbs.
I like The Burbs. I can see that. But
yeah, like, it definitely gets better. But the thing is, there's so many people who are saying, like, oh, season 2 is where it gets way, way better. And then season 3 is even better. Now that I'm in season 3, I think if you don't like the first season, you're not going to like any of it.
Right.
But I think that it does get better, as most shows do, like when you get to know the characters a little more. And it does. I'm really impressed with where they've gone with the story and how they've managed to keep it original when it's, essentially just a zombie story again. So I don't know, I recommend, if for some reason you haven't gotten on it before, check it out. I want to apologize to Dwight Fry because he's been trying to get us to watch this show for 3 years now, like as long as we've been a podcast. I know he's a big fan of it, and I just kept it, like, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to be rude, but when I watched it, I thought it fucking sucked. Like, I was just like, the first couple episodes, I was like, I just thought it was lame and boring and like just not funny and irritating. And then for some reason, I go back on Friday, I'm like, man, this is just clicking with me and I'm into it right now. So yeah, I recommend people check that out if you haven't yet.
I recommend you don't.
Yeah. So
wow.
So you really hate it.
I got to be here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, I watched probably the first couple episodes when it came out, and people were saying like, "Oh, this show's awesome," and I don't remember even specifically what it was that bothered me about it. I feel like it was the pitch of it, and like a premise is good and everything, and that's good cast and everything, but it was at a weird manic pitch that I just wasn't appreciating, and
that's the energy.
It felt like characters were doing stupid things that like would get them caught, or like I don't really remember the specifics.
Oh man, that happens constantly throughout the show.
So I fell off it pretty quick. But.
Yeah, you specifically, like, that's where it's like, where I say it's stupid, it's like Timothy Oliphant and Drew Barrymore are both like so obviously guilty of everything that they're doing, and they're just doing everything wrong. But it's in this, it's almost, it's an alternate universe where you can't take that shit seriously, and you just have to, it's kind of like, it's like slapsticky in a way, like where it's not realistic, it's just light fun.
Right.
And occasionally brutal violence. Like, there's some really awesome kills.
I'll give it another shot.
Well, yeah, try it out.
See, now you put that on his shoulders, so he's gonna be worried about it.
Yeah.
No, because I know
I'm holding you personally.
Yeah,
I don't know this Dwight guy, so I'm holding you personally
that's
responsible.
accountability right there.
Your credibility and coolness rests on this
Oh
whole
yeah,
thing.
that's why I was like, this is gonna actually. There's a good chance this could fuck with my horror cred. Like, so I don't know what's happening. I dig the show.
You know what's interesting though? This is kind of a weird side tangent, but like I was thinking about this the other day. Is say like a couple of years ago, even during the start of peak TV, like there was so much stuff that you can't necessarily get to all of it. So especially for someone like me that has to watch some of this stuff for like part of my job, is I would hear about a show, and if I heard about it enough from certain people, like even something like a great example of this is The Americans, which I haven't watched, but it's a show I would look at and go like, no, I don't give a shit about Felicity and whatever. But I've heard so many people saying good things about it that I was like, okay, I should probably check this out. But I'm realizing now, I think in 2016 there was something like 250 shows made.
God,
this
so
year
much.
or maybe last year it's about 500.
Yeah.
So like now you can't trust that barometer of like, oh, these people I know and usually trust their taste or liking the show, or everyone saying the show is good, because it's such like niche programming for everybody now. So I'm finding like I have to wander into certain things myself and go, oh, either this sucks or I like it or I don't, you know?
Well, it's an ongoing joke that I consume an obscene amount of TV and movies.
I always wonder how.
And somehow I'm overwhelmed. Like we started the Umbrella Academy as well, and like so far it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I like that one. There's lots of stuff I've started even that
I
like
can't keep up.
well, right, I get 5 episodes into it, I'm not minding it even, it's good,
Yeah.
and then something else gets my attention. So like it's become my buddy Dave and I were joking about this. It's become like I will only watch the show if it's the best show I've ever seen. Otherwise it falls off like super quickly.
No,
I don't know about if you guys do the same thing, but a lot of times if I see the first season of something and really enjoy it, and I know there's another season coming out, I won't watch it as it's syndicated. I'll wait till it's all done. But then sometimes I forget to come back to it.
Yeah.
I did that actually with Fargo, where I'm like, I know season 2 is really good.
Season 2 is so good.
Yeah, but I haven't come back to it just because other things have gotten in the way of me watching it. I know I'm going to watch it eventually, and I know it's good.
Good thing is that has nothing to do with season 1.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
can watch them all separately, but
I like having that ability to like, man, maybe if I get strep throat, I'll have something to watch the whole time.
yeah, that's exactly with me. And like when I was couch ridden for 2 weeks, I was like, I'm gonna finally watch the fucking Wire. Like,
Right. Did you watch it?
I watched the first season.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great so far.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish it, but that's the show. That is the one where the entire world says it's the best show ever. So it's weird that I haven't seen it before, but I always hear that, Sopranos, and Breaking Bad. Before we get on to news, quick fire round. Favorite Stephen King adaptation that isn't like The Shining or like try to do a little quick poll here.
Oh God!
I know
really
I'm putting you
on
all three of you on the spot. I can go first if you guys want.
Sure.
The Dead Zone. If you haven't seen The Dead Zone, I fucking love The Dead Zone. Have you seen The Dead Zone, Buzi?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we gotta do an episode on The Dead Zone because I was telling Craig before, but like we've probably done at least 12 episodes on Stephen King adaptations at this point.
I'm gonna probably like bolt up at 2 a.m. and go, fuck, I should have said this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate being put on the spot like that.
yeah.
Because then I'm like, I'm gonna give a stupid answer.
Yeah, but well, and what I was gonna actually say was Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
The original, which we'll talk about. But like, I will second your Dead Zone. I'd seen that movie a lot when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see it for a lot of years, and I recently rewatched it in the last year or so, and I was like, fuck, this movie
It's
holds
so
up,
good,
man.
yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Cronenberg, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've been having the urge to watch it again, so that's what kind of made me think of this question.
Yeah.
Oh, I have no fucking idea.
Thinner. Just say thinner.
Yeah, I was gonna put I like because like I wrote down my top 5 favorite adaptations, and I was like, the only one that's like not like super well known is The Dead Zone. And that's a well known movie, but I still feel like it's undiscovered to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel like
Well,
there's
it's not really. I guess there was a TV show based on it
exactly.
too, but
but I feel like less people have seen The Dead Zone than Misery.
Sure.
Which Misery is probably if we're not talking The Shining, Misery's probably my favorite.
Yeah, Misery's a good one too.
Yeah, it's so good.
I still think Graveyard Shift is a fun movie.
Wow.
I'll stand by
It is. I was assuming you were going to do Graveyard Shift or The Night Flyer.
Oh, also Night Flyer. I think not enough people have seen the Night Flyer even.
We got a DVD copy. Well,
Because that's actually hard to find.
I know, but we just got it and we started it a couple days ago, but we fell asleep.
Oh,
So we're
I
gonna
think
finish
the
it.
Night Flyer, especially
seen it
the
before,
ending of the movie, is awesome.
I just remember the creature was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's get on to some news. So, Buzi, can you please hit us with some motherfucking news?
Yabba dabba doo, it's time for the news. David Howard Thornton has been teasing Terrifier 2 as well as 3. He wants to do a trilogy of it.
Well, I know they're already making 2, but
Yeah,
apparently
he's already like halfway finished the script for 3. So he's like, I'm going to make this into a full-fledged trilogy. Well, if that's what you enjoy, then, go for it.
People love Terrifier. I enjoy Terrifier.
The Beetlejuice sequel has been shelved, and Tim Burton doesn't think it'll ever come out.
Thank you. That rules.
Are you okay with that? Did anybody want it?
I thought I wanted it, but then in theory, it's something that I would like, but I know that I wouldn't. I know it'd be. I love Beetlejuice. I'd put Beetlejuice in my top 10. I fucking love that movie, and Burton's been gone a long time.
I was gonna say, is his stock still super high? People like, oh, Tim Burton.
I'd say not as a film geek.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe it has cachet with audiences, but I was just saying
in terms of recent though, everyone can look back on someone's back catalog and go, oh yeah, I love that.
Well, Tim Burton had an amazing back catalog, but his recent stuff, I can't remember. I think the last time I was super stoked for a Tim Burton movie was Sleepy Hollow,
right,
which was 2002.
Yeah.
It's been a long fucking time.
I think a lot of it, every review of everything that's come out since about that period is the same, and it's always visually stunning, but not a great movie.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
That's it. That's enough.
Yeah. I don't know. I would love to see Keaton do that, take on that role again, but no, I'm good with it just being the way it is.
Fair. AMC is expanding their Walking Dead universe again, but this time they're being different because it's a female-led spin-off. So this is the second spin-off from Walking Dead.
Fear of the Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, does this one have a name yet?
Doesn't have a title yet. They're just going with, it's going to be female-led, and that's all you need to know. And it's
called I Can't Believe It's Another Walking Dead.
Yeah. Which is weird.
This is where they could have really utilized that Talking Dead.
Well, because they just finished their last season. I think it was the least viewed final episode for a season. They've just consistently been going downhill, and they kind of hit a plateau.
It's admirable how they've still stayed on the air, and when they've just been fucking annihilated by critics.
Yeah, I will say,
fans.
That's true. But that's also cable is going that way, so it's fun for everyone to always say, you see that headline all the time. This is the lowest rated Walking Dead finale in Walking Dead history, but there is other stuff at play there. I think it is still quite popular as a show in terms of how many viewers it would have versus any other given show.
Most things, yeah. But you're also looking at a fan base where I know people who are rampant fans of that who have also kind of declined with it,
sure.
where they don't defend it as much as they used to.
I'm still watching it, actually.
Yeah, I know. You're the only one I know.
You know what happened to me, though? It's funny, is that, it came back, because they did, 8 episodes or whatever, and then went on a, mid-season hiatus. Came back, and I was so, that I didn't notice that it came back. And so, suddenly there were 6 or 7 episodes I was behind on, and I was like, oh, God. Now I have to watch, 7 episodes in a row,
Because the thing is, that's also work for you.
Well, yeah, it's don't get me wrong, I'm compelled to continue to watch it, but it's a slog sometimes. And I didn't mind Fear the Walking Dead, but I only watched a season or 2 of it. I'd probably finish it
I think
someday,
I went halfway through the first season, and I thought it was fine compared to wherever it was in terms of seasons of Walking Dead, but it's still not enough that I really want to continue watching it.
It's frustrating. It's
watching
frustrating.
people cry. It's just them crying.
Well, it's just constantly they add disposable characters that you know right away. They don't even bother fleshing them out anymore.
Well,
I'm a mean man.
You can tell in an episode when a character's going to die. At the beginning of the episode, because they become interesting in that episode.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh wow, why don't they write these characters like this all the time? And then the character gets
it's
killed
always
at the end. It's
that's somebody's boyfriend, or someone has a family, and all of a sudden they're gone, and then you have to go, oh, we're sad for their family now.
Yeah.
This is a spoiler, but I don't think anyone's going to care. Is Michonne still alive?
Well, I have 2 episodes left in this season that I haven't seen yet, so I don't know.
Okay.
We have, this is kind of new, and it's something you can check out on YouTube. I believe it's on there right now. Is they have 28 minutes worth of thing concept art from the what year was that? 2011. the 2011 prequel film.
Right, yeah.
Because, it's well known that most of that movie got glossed over with CG, but there was special effects used in that. But they have all the concept art of, like, what it should have been, so they put it in an amalgamation of, like, 28 minutes worth of this is what you could have had. So you can find that on YouTube, and it's...
Yeah, they had little bits and pieces of it on YouTube before, too, because I remember watching, because that was when they were promoting Harbinger Down.
Yeah. They kind of showed, like, this is what we can do. And it actually is some of the guys from the effects team that put it all together.
Yeah,
so
because that's
like
why they did Harbinger Down.
Yeah, here's the amalgamation of all the things that we didn't get to show you guys. So that's interesting for anyone who's a big enough Thing fan to watch 28 minutes of concept art.
Yeah.
And if you're going to see Shazam anytime soon, you might have a little bit more of a reason, because in all IMAXs, you get 5 minutes of Godzilla King of Monsters before the film starts.
I did not know that, but I don't think our IMAX is playing that.
It should be for Shazam.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to check. It's
but
weird.
then again, I don't know anyone who's gone to see Shazam.
I really want to see Shazam because I've heard it's great. Did you see Shazam?
No, I didn't see it either, but I have heard good things.
Yeah, I love the director. So
okay. And we have a Kickstarter it's Indiegogo campaign going on right now for a official sleepaway camp documentary. So they need to hit a goal. I believe their goal is $68,000, and they have 48 days to do it. So if you're a big sleepaway camp fan, throw a couple bucks at it. It is a ton of the people from the original. I think it's the original Angela she's heading in it. Yeah. So if it's something you're interested, because Indiegogo is one of those things where if you don't get your full amount, everybody gets refunded. And they just they let it sink.
No, Felissa Rose is still like very active in her sleepaway camp. Like she does cons all the time, and I know that's like what she's primarily known for, but she's still real passionate about it.
Yeah, and she's passionate enough that she wants to continue doing this. And I don't think it's just a matter of money. Money that they're after. They're actually trying to do something because there is a big fan base for that.
Yeah, well, and especially horror documentaries become a big thing. One thing I haven't talked about in any of the episodes I've watched recently, because I'm just going to gloss over it in the main feature here, but I own the Pet Cemetery Unearthed and Untold,
right,
which is put out by Synapse Films, which is just a full feature-length documentary on Pet Cemetery. And good God, is that a boring fucking documentary? It is a piece of filth. Like it is bad.
Yeah.
And it's all the like least interesting people just like pointing out like, yeah, this is where they did this.
And like there are some interesting moments in it where you see neat things, but like if I remember that one correctly, I did watch it and it was like they treat it like they fucking made Citizen Kane.
Exactly.
And I love that movie, but but everything is just like, oh, we got to preserve this for posterity. This is like film history, and it's like, okay, calm the fuck down.
I know, but like that's the thing. And then there's Never Sleep Again, which I talk about frequently. I think is that's the gold standard for horror documentaries, which is the Nightmare on Elm Street. They go through it's like 3.5, or it's like 4.5 hours.
Yeah,
they spend a half hour on each installment, and it is just like endlessly entertaining. Like it is so, and they're concise, and they only touch on the really important shit that people would be interested in hearing. And then Pet Sematary, it's kind of like watching a Bigfoot documentary where you go to like a random gas station and be like, hey, do you remember when they filmed this movie in your town? Yeah. Like that's what Unearthed and Untold
I saw someone drive by.
Yeah. And we'll get to it in the main feature, but.
Okay. And we recently had CinemaCon going on, and a lot of crazy shit has come out of CinemaCon. They got, I think it was like 10 minutes worth of footage from the new Terminator film, Dark Fate, which is directed by Tim Miller and produced by James Cameron. And it's ignoring everything after T2. But so far from what people have been talking about coming out of that is it looks amazing, which is nice to hear that we have something a little bit better for the Terminator franchise.
The bar is real fucking low.
The bar is pretty low. Yeah. And that's sadly, again, one of those things that I'll be compelled. I won't necessarily go on opening night or anything, but I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah. I've gone on opening night for all of these Terminator, T3 was the first one that I could see when I was like of age to go to the movies by myself, and just an endless array of disappointment.
Going on from that, also at CinemaCon, Disney had a little thing going on, and they're talking about all of the projects that they're preparing to work on in the next little while. And it was a lot of people thought that when Disney bought Fox that they were going to get rid of Alien as well as the Predator franchise, but it looks like they're going to be doing films for both of those.
Really?
Yeah.
There's more Predator coming.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be anything like The Predator.
No.
Well, I'm not sure what Disney's rules are anymore, but they used to not make stuff like something like Deadpool would never have gotten made under Disney.
Yeah, I know that they've
like R-rated.
Yeah, but
I think they're trying to branch out quite a bit, especially with
Hopefully.
them having their own like net version of Netflix.
Well, Disney's just taken over the fucking world at this point. Like when they got Star Wars, that was huge. But even like I guess Star Wars is still PG-13, but I know that Deadpool, they've like stated that nothing's going to change with Deadpool. It's just the money's just going to go into their pockets.
Right.
Yeah, and the talk with that is that it's not going to be have anything to do with Ridley Scott's, because he still wanted to do Alien Awakening.
He's still saying that that's happening, and it's just like, you see now, old man, sit down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to disregard Prometheus and Covenant and all that sort of stuff.
Good.
I would love them to just start fresh. Like, I don't even want the Blomkamp one. I just want fucking Sigourney Weaver back.
Yeah,
And
much.
I don't need that, but I'd be fine to have Ripley welcome back.
We're also looking here. Ari Aster's next, or his sequel. I guess his next film, not his sequel.
It's not a sequel. Midsommar.
His next film, Midsommar. It was originally slated for August 9th, and it has been moved to July 3rd.
Oh,
they didn't give a reason as to why, though.
Though that's not like it's being moved to fucking January.
No, they're not. They're not like, oh, we're going up against this film.
Yeah.
Also, this is super interesting, more or less. I think this is kind of more interesting to me and Mitch, is there's an alternate ending to Halloween, or opening to Halloween 5. And it's for years they've been talking about that it actually got filmed, and it's never been released or anything. But there is a website called HalloweenMovies.com, and they actively work on trying to find these things.
I think that's the Halloweenies, guys.
I don't know if it is. It might be. But it looks like they actually have found something. They've shared a couple stills from it, and we're hoping that we actually get to see the full thing, which would be really cool, because I guess it was shot really quickly, so it's not the greatest quality, but it's just cool that you're seeing something different.
Yeah, but it's still going to be bad. It's not going to make Halloween 5 any better.
No. Godzilla vs. King Kong has officially finished filming, so I don't know if... I assume you guys are probably more excited for that than I am.
I'm excited for it.
Adam Wingard is directing that? I'm not all that excited, but that made me a little more excited.
Yeah, because, did you watch Death Note?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you hate it too?
I didn't love it, but there were some cool parts of it. But
were you faithful from the original, though? Like, did you have any
I hadn't seen the original.
Okay, so you have
before.
less of that carryover.
Yeah, no. I watched a little bit of it, in fact, like after I watched the movie.
Yeah, like, see, I guess we are the 2% of people who, like, I watched the Adam Wingard movie, and I liked it enough to go and watch the anime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually prefer a lot of things about the American one, so...
Yeah.
Throw rocks at my house.
Yeah, it's probably more distilled for somebody who's a casual viewer of that sort of thing. That you don't have to go through watching all this stuff and all these extra characters that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things.
I'm rooting for him to get back on top, because he's done some great shit.
No, for sure.
And that's 2 bombs for him, is Death Note and Blair Witch.
Yeah. And last piece of news I have is we got the first trailer for the new Addams Family film. I have not watched the trailer yet.
I haven't watched it yet either. I was planning on watching it before
today.
But
it just came out recently, so if you want to go check that out, I'm sure it's all over YouTube and wherever else you can watch trailers.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find it. I got one thing.
Okay.
And it's not horror, but I'm still going to talk about it. Let's talk about the Joker trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you watch the trailer for Joker, Buzi?
Nope.
Are you not interested?
Nope.
Oh, I thought even you. I thought this would even rope you in. Okay, so the Joaquin Phoenix. What's his name? The guy from The Hangover, the director, Todd Phillips.
Todd Phillips
is directing it. So once again, I've seen your tweets, but I want to talk about it a little bit here for people who don't follow you on Twitter, which they can at Craig Silliphant
at Craig Silliphant.
Yeah. So yeah, like. Let's open it. I think it looks fucking great.
I thought it looked really good too, and I'm definitely skeptical.
Me too. Like I'm right there.
Right, because not only, I mean, obviously, like I have a whole thing about even the whole superhero movies thing, which I do like, but like they're definitely changing the industry, not for the better. Yeah. But what I liked about this was that it looks like if they're gonna like explore all this stuff, then it's neat to do different movies that are in a completely different vein. And, you know, that one definitely looks like it's more of some weird, like...
Taxi Driver.
Yeah, like art film, maybe with some horror, like... Yeah.
I can't believe this exists. Like, I remember when we first started the Terror Table, we were talking about, like, Joaquin Phoenix and talks to do Joker, and I remember Diego being like, it's not happening. Of course it's not fucking happening. It was a rumor. Like, why would Joaquin Phoenix do this? Because, like, you know, now that Philip Seymour Hoffman has died and what's his name, Daniel Day-Lewis isn't acting anymore, I'd say Joaquin Phoenix might be the best actor living right now. Like,
he's definitely good. Yeah,
he's up there, and like he's I don't know, I like ever since the day they showed his makeup, I'm like, fuck yeah, I love that makeup. That makeup is awesome. But then the trailers cut, like it does look like a Scorsese movie. And
like King of Comedy actually is another good reference point.
Isn't it produced by Scorsese though? I think
that I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I thought I could be wrong, so I'm not going to talk about that. But like I don't know, I think it looks promising, but it could end up being a total disaster.
Yeah,
there's a good.
As with anything,
it's gonna go one way or the other with this one. Like I just can't.
Okay, so since I haven't seen it, can you kind of sum it up? Is it supposed to be like way darker and more edgy, or
it's like not even that? It's just it's realistic, and it looks like it. Todd Phillips has said that it's a tragedy. Like the movie's, if it has a theme, it's a tragedy, and like it looks like if it was Taxi Driver but modern day, and you know, Joaquin Phoenix instead of
this is just my outsider perspective, is when you have so many of the Marvel and DC movies that all come out that are very similar in terms of subject matter and kind of how they're played out, it seems weird having a film like that would definitely go against it. So even if this movie is incredible for the smaller portion of your fan base that are into that like darker thing, I feel like it won't do well, just because the majority of your audience are these people who want to see your kind of more lighthearted superhero movies.
That's probably a good I mean, I would say that's probably a good observation for, you know, the vast majority of people throwing at them this like art film, if that's what it ends up being. But
I'm just going off of what you guys are talking about, and the way it's portrayed is like you're looking at something like Shazam will probably do better, because it's more up that alley of like funny superhero-y kind of, like, obviously it's a spin on the regular superhero thing.
But the Joker has the name recognition, like so many people are just finding out who Shazam is now.
It does, but I think like if we're comparing the two, I think Shazam will be more well received because it doesn't have that dark undertone, where if you're trying to make a more serious Joker film, you're probably going to have a large portion of your audience that don't want that super
this is definitely
aspect.
This is geared to adults, like 100%. And like this is like, because I know you're so far out of the loop of like the superhero stuff. Cause
I'm not trying to slander anything.
No, I know you don't like it, but like the thing is, this Joker will not be seen with Jason Momoa in Aquaman or any kind of spinoff. Like,
right,
this is a standalone thing.
I understand that they're in different universes, but it's just kind of that trend of what's going on right now in terms of film.
Right.
This is going to be probably a lot darker than, let's say, like Endgame.
Oh, wow. Endgame's probably going to be pretty brutal, but no, I guess we've probably seen the worst of it by now. Yeah, it's darker than that, but it's
that's what I mean. Is
kids will not be going in this movie. Look at this poster. The poster's fucking
I do
incredible.
understand that, but like you have something like obviously you have to talk about like the Nolan Batman films, where you look at the first one where they set it up so that you knew going forward they were more grounded and a little bit darker, where you have this movie coming out that's going to be a standalone. It's not a trilogy or anything. You're just having the standalone dark film. Because they even tried, that's kind of what happened with, if you want to get in that whole conversation about like Suicide Squad, where the film that it was supposed to be was quite a bit darker than the thing they put out, because the studio was like, oh shit, this is too dark. We need to lighten it up and have Guns N' Roses playing and action happening that you don't need, because that's not the film it was trying to be. That's why it was such a mess.
You should watch this trailer, because it looks like a serial killer movie. Like, okay. It's like if Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer was the Joker. Like,
okay.
That's the other thing too, is like this is one of those things where I'm one of those guys too that I don't give a fuck about origin stories. Like, I hate origin stories, especially at this point, and like.
But you will go to them.
I will, but like I'm an idiot though. Like that's the wrong way to. Yeah, but like, I don't know. I feel like this is completely different than what they've done before, and I think it's a huge risk. But a lot of people are saying that they don't want to see an origin story. They already know enough about the Joker. Like, what's the point of this?
There's been so many different origins.
Like, one of my favorite Joker books is Brian Azzarello wrote. It's just called Joker, and it's essentially the same thing as like the intro to Jack Nicholson's Joker. And it looks like that's drawing some inspiration in this movie, though. Like, I don't know if anyone's read that, but it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm even on the origin thing. he definitely, like, he has an origin in even certain comics, like you mentioned Joker, even the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't. And I don't know how much of those origins are always continuity. Like, he is one of those characters that's more terrifying because you don't know where he came from or what he is. So that, I mean, that definitely colors my opinion of, like, Joker. But I've already seen him have an origin several times, so whatever.
And I know, like, that is a really good point. Not to go on to like a huge tangent of that, that's such a good point. Is some of your best characters have been put in media so many different times that you don't need to give it. If you don't give it an origin story, it actually benefits.
Well, the best example of that is, especially for the Terror Table, is Hannibal Lecter.
Mm-hmm. Oh
so,
my
like,
god,
he's in what, like 11 minutes of screen time or something like that, or in Silence of the Lambs, as well as in Manhunter.
Rising.
And then you add this whole complete stupid fucking backstory to him, and it robs him of all his mystique from Silence of the Lambs or Manhunter.
No, I've seen Hannibal Rising, and that's the thing, is you're totally right, is that didn't need to be in there at all. And I'm sure most core fans who enjoy anything to do with Hannibal pay zero attention to Rising because it's giving you things you don't want.
Yeah.
I don't want to know all the time how my food is made. I just want my food to be here.
Yeah, you really don't want to know how a lot of your food is made.
Probably not.
Yeah, especially if you eat like Montanas and stuff like that. Imagine a Jaws origin story.
Yeah, like we're seeing like two sharks fuck, and then this baby shark come out, and
baby shark baby
shark. Exactly.
Okay, let's get on to our main feature, in which we will be talking about Pet Sematary, 2019 one. But I'm sure we're going to talk about all of Pet Sematary. We'll be right back after this trailer and this tune.
Church was out on the road. And everything went black.
It's okay now. Are you back?
Back from where?
What's going on?
There's a place, Rach, brings things back. Hug your daughter.
Are you happy, Mommy?
I should never have shown you that place.
But you did.
If you cheat death, there's a price to be paid.
I needed more time with her.
Sometimes dead is better. If you've done something, Lewis, it's not too late to undo it.
And welcome to our main feature presentation, in which we will be discussing Pet Sematary, which was directed by Dennis Widmeyer and Kevin Kelsch. Pet Sematary is the story of Dr. Lewis Creed and his wife, Rachel, relocate from Boston to rural Maine with their 2 young children. The couple soon discover a mysterious burial ground hidden deep in the woods near their new home. So this is a reimagining, retelling of the 1989 film, which was directed by Mary Herron, and it's a reimagining of Pet Sematary, written by Stephen King. So yeah, this movie came out, was it April? I don't even know. I'm not going to try and pretend like I know.
Is it the 5th?
Yeah, April 5th.
Something
Let's
like
go with that. Either way, we all went to it opening night. We had a terrible experience getting into that movie. Long story short, local theater fucked up. But we all got to see it for free. I got to send you your money tonight because I owe you money. But we got to see this movie for free, so that's nice. But yeah, now I want to talk about all things Pet Sematary. I want to talk about, because we still haven't done an episode on the original. I know that we've all seen it. You've seen it in the last year. Mm-hmm. That's a movie, is one of the ones where I feel like I know that movie so fucking well. I've seen it so many times that it's just like, I know it like the back of my hand. But so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the book, and we will talk about this main movie. But let's first get out of the way that we're going to be talking spoiler free for the first 5 minutes here. We'll just give our general thoughts, and then we'll give you a warning, and then we'll delve into spoilers, and we're going to talk all things Pet Sematary. So let's start off with the new remake. Buzi, what did you think of this movie?
I really liked it. as it was finishing, I was kind of like collecting my thoughts, as most people do towards the end of the movie. You know, like right as the credits start rolling, and you have like Starcrawlers playing their version of
Starcrawler's new
their version of the song "Pet Cemetery," which ended in the original. And I liked a lot of things about it. I have a couple complaints, but I mean, obviously we're going to talk about it. So overall, I really enjoyed it. This was kind of the movie I was looking forward to most this year. And for the most part, I feel like it did deliver. So, yeah.
I would say I'm 50-50 on it. There were some things that I really liked about it. And a lot of things I didn't necessarily like. Some of that we need to wait for spoiler time to get into. But if I gave you one overarching problem, it's that it moved along too quickly. And in that case, it sheds a lot of stuff that I think we'll get into this, like I said, but that is important to the story. But even if it's not, it leaves in certain characters, then it then doesn't flesh out. Like, I mean, Pascal, this isn't a spoiler, like, he's in the movie, but because that stuff happens so quickly and so fast, like, he doesn't fulfill the same role that he did in the book or the other movie in a weird way. So that was my big problem with it. I mean,
yeah, you're totally right. He was kind of shoveled in.
Yeah, and there's quickly a few like characters or moments like that, and I appreciate that they were trying to tell a different story and have it happen at a different pace, and especially when every movie in the theater is fucking 2.5 hours long now. I appreciate it.
And this isn't exactly a short movie either. It's 2 hours.
Wasn't it an hour 41?
Yeah, an hour 40 something. I was pretty sure.
Oh, I thought it was actually the only 2 minutes shorter than the original, I think, because I think the original was an hour 43. Right. Yeah. So I appreciate that they tried to, make it happen with some pacing, and I think that works well in some cases, but it also fucks some shit up in other cases. And I guess the one thing you can note that isn't a spoiler, or that I can note, is that I love the shitty acting in the original. But obviously we've gotten a bit of an upgrade in terms of the acting in this movie. Yeah. So it feels like a much more serious, straightforward, like, horror movie, basically. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to top Fred Gwynne in the original for me, but like, I thought John Lithgow is a great actor to put into that role, and Jason Clarke does a good job. And,
yeah. So pretty much exact ditto what Craig and I guess both of you guys have said. I leaving the theater, like, I got this legitimate problem that I'm always, and I'm not saying that you guys don't do this, but like, I feel like I do this to a fault. Like, I'm legitimately rooting with all of my heart to like everything, and I try to justify things that I don't like with, like, maybe, well, it's just Widmeyer and Kelsch's iteration. Like, this is what they want to do, and I try and forgive what I personally wanted from the movies. I feel like this was a really well-made movie, and I think that they did a really great job with the material and at least making it different enough from the original. But, like, speaking of the original, like I said, I have such a long-standing relationship with that movie. It's one of the first movies that I remember genuinely terrifying me. And like you said, the acting is real stiff. Like, it's not a perfect movie by any means. But somehow it has still maintained its spot in my rotation, like in my yearly rotation. I always watch Pet Sematary.
Right. And I would say that movie, like, that weird unintentional campiness that it has, which is, like, in a lot of cases, like, poor acting or kind of poor filmmaking in certain parts, mixed with some actually well done terror and scary things and scary moments, and then you fuse those two things together and you have this weird, unique artifact of pop culture that's like and that's almost better than it would have been if it was like a brilliant movie, you know what I mean? Like,
but I find that happens a lot with a lot of the earlier stuff from Stephen King in terms of movies, is they're all kind of follow that format. Is other than the bigger ones that everybody enjoys, is some of the other adaptations you're seeing is not great acting, but there's an underlying good story, and they use pieces from the actual books to make that terror part, because Stephen King wrote them to be terrifying. So you do have some of that more well-rounded stuff there, but you have it kind of glossed over with people who don't deliver it always the best.
Right.
So it is that kind of duality of a little bit of both.
Yeah, like, there's something that we said about there's adaptations that follow books too religiously. Like, they try too hard to, like, I like that they made some changes to this reimagining, and I think that that's important for its success. as far as I know, it is a success in the box office. But I'm actually genuinely shocked at how divisive this movie has become. Like, for the most part, I see hate online. Like, I see people really didn't fucking like this movie, and then I see some people who are like ashamed to say that they liked it, and then there's some people who are just like, no, I fucking loved it. It was great. And like, in my opinion, like it's nothing new, and it's something that we've seen before. But I do feel like that, like, there's some credit here that they deserve, and especially in the fact that like the story is what it was written in the 80s, so like he released this in the early 80s. And to get out of the way real quick, I haven't read your review yet. I plan on reading it after we did this. I didn't want to go into that with any thoughts, right. But like but one thing is that people are like, there's that clickbait shit that's going around about how like Stephen King fucking hates this book, and right. he hates it. It's like, no, he doesn't hate this book. He thinks it's terrible. And it's because it is like, and terrible doesn't mean that he thinks it's bad. It's like he didn't want to release it because he thought that it was like too grim.
Yeah,
like
too dark, too grim. Yeah. Which is like, that's what I like about this property, is that it goes places and looks at things that even other horror movies. How many horror movies aren't really about death, even though there's a high body count? Like, this one looks death right in the face.
It's 100% about death. Yeah, and like that's where I feel like it loses some of that theme that is so important to the book in this movie with the directions that they go. I feel like some of that is lost here. That actually there are things that the original does do better than this, and which is surprising to say, because I've been a longtime defender of the original movie. I love the original movie.
I do too.
But like, people generally, like, it's kind of irritating me to see how many people online are just like, now they're huge fans of the Pet Sematary original, and it's just like, man, no one was talking about this movie, like because I've been listening to horror podcasts, I've been like up in the horror community online and stuff like that for years and years and years, and people always shit on the original Pet Sematary. It's just like,
my review starts, like my written review starts by me saying I didn't realize that original was so like disliked, because I loved it, but as I was like, as it's been coming up in the news while the new one's coming out, I've been seeing all these reviews and people talking about it, and yet, like you said, they're shitting on it, and I was like, what, really?
Yeah, no, and it's like, to me, and I think even you and I talked briefly after the movie, I'm like, I can understand to an extent. Like, I think if you watch the original 1989 Pet Sematary today for the first time, it's not going to affect you the way that it's like. But the thing is, and that's why, I tend to have a problem with, like, I root for movies in general. That's why, like, I hated the original Annabelle movie. I thought it was complete garbage. And then I went to Annabelle Creation, and I was rooting for it to be good, and then I thought it was fucking awesome. Like, I really enjoyed that second movie there. But it's just like, that kind of goes against a lot of the things that I generally like about movies. I'm always rooting, especially for the horror genre, because why the fuck would you ever want to see something terrible? Why do you want to go to a movie and be like, this is going to suck? Right. And I know that none of us do that, but like, a lot of people do. And it tends to be my Achilles heel sometimes. Like, sometimes I end up there's a movie that ends up in my top 10, like Halloween, basically because of name recognition. I'm not saying that Halloween's a terrible movie, but like, I don't like that remake that much, and I still put it in my top 10.
Right.
Because I'm just like, I'm such a Michael Myers fan. Like, this isn't a case of that. I think that this is a decent movie, and I think people are being unfair to it. I think people are expected a little bit too much for it and are not giving it credit for what it is doing. I feel like there is a lot of times where it falls into like the generic horror cliches, like where you think like, oh, I know exactly where this is going. And then they don't do that, though. They find a way to kind of innovate with it. Particularly, this isn't a spoiler, but like mirror scenes. Like, there's like, the mirror gag that from every single horror movie ever. It's like, oh, she's going to open the mirror, she's brushing her teeth, she's going to close it, and she'll open it and then close it, and then someone will be standing behind her. They find a way to innovate old things. And they reimagined these things, and they found. I think that Kellish and Widmeyer did a great job. I know Buzi and I are big fans of their first movie, Starry Eyes, and I feel like it feels like indie filmmakers who were given a chance, and they did, for the most part, did a good job. Do I think it's as good as the original? No, I still prefer the original. But I think that is 100% nostalgia speaking. Right.
Which is definitely, I talk about nostalgia in my review too. Yeah. And I also said that maybe like this would be a better movie if the book and the original movie hadn't existed.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem with the movie itself. That's a perceptual thing that I'm bringing to it. Like,
but for the most part, stuff like that, especially when you're dealing with so many things that are a remake or reimagining, is that you're handcuffed to the original whether you want to be or not. No matter how many times you say, like, this is nothing like the original, we're doing a completely different thing. And it's even the same way with like how Halloween was, is you're always going to be handcuffed to everything else that came before it. You know, you're looking at, you can go down the list, Aliens, Terminator, all those things. You're handcuffed to whatever you made before that, for better or for worse. And then you kind of have to, especially when you're talking about nostalgia speaking, you have to look at it for, and it's not that everyone does that, is you have to look at things for when it was made. You know, because if you're talking about how much you guys like the original, is if that movie came out today, would it be as effective? No, we'd probably be having a terrible conversation about it. But it's because it came out in a time where this is like pre-Scream, pre all this stuff, where it was more of a, I guess, for the time, it was what it was. And then you're looking now where you're talking about a lot of people saying that they're not scared by the new Pet Sematary.
I hate that argument so much.
And I do, and it's because you're so accustomed to going to theaters and seeing things where everything constantly pops out, and they do have a jump scene in this film, which actually got me, and it was and it's in the trailer, which is weird, is that they gave away the only real jump scare in the trailer.
Yeah, like that's what the thing is. I don't think that this is. I don't think that this is the generic Hollywood remake that we are used to seeing. No,
because Pet Sematary is about tension. It's about the storytelling. It's not about this thing's going to pop out and this thing's going to pop out, which is still, it feels like a lot of what is coming out now is still that same.
Yeah, it's not a jump scare movie.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's I think like 1 or 2 jump scares in this movie, but it's a fucking horror movie.
Yeah,
the thing, I see a lot of people having problems with the story. And like I've read a lot of reviews where they don't like where it goes. I'm like, but that's what the story is. Like if you're going to be one of those people who think like, why would he go back to the burial ground again? Or like, why would he do this again after he already knows that it's the ground is sour or whatever? It's just like, hey, but that's the book. They're adapting a Stephen King book, and like that just means that the story doesn't connect with you, which is fine. But is this a bad movie because of that? I don't buy that
because it's telling the story that it was made to be.
I actually thought I don't think this isn't a spoiler, but if you're familiar with Pet Sematary anyway, that the movie in a good way gave better justification for certain decisions that happen, like when you mentioned like why Judd shows him the graveyard in the first place after Church dies. In the original, I don't remember how that's explained in the book because it's been a while since I read it. But in the first movie, he doesn't really. It's like, oh, this thing's terrible. Like, let me show you how to bury your cat in there.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, but in this one, it's kind of like, oh, once the ground once it gets a hold of you, like it's the only solution in your mind, and it fucks with you.
It's an answer for everything.
Yeah, so I appreciated that. Like they kind of gave answers to a few plot problems in the original.
Yeah, well, I think they improved on a lot of things, but while doing that, they also they neglected some important things. Again, I know we'll talk about that in the spoilers, but like I know that there's certain things that I feel like for what's her name, Rachel's dad was a very important part of the book and the movie. Yeah, and he's completely not even a part of this movie. So like there's certain things like that, but they cut that out to make more room for their new change, because now, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, we know that Ellie's the one who dies and not Gage, and you're seeing, like, I think that actually upped the ante in a lot of ways. And I know you're not hearing anything new here, but it's like, of course, a 9-year-old can do a lot more than a fucking 2-year-old on screen. Like you can have some more fun with what they can do. But also, that wasn't Widmeyer and Kelsch's choice. Like, that's apparently been a thing in the script for the remake of Pet Sematary for the past, 10 years. And there were people, like, I know there was a rumor that Alexander Aja was going to remake Pet Sematary, but he didn't want to do it because he wanted to have Gage, that he felt like that's the point of the story. Right. And that's why, you hear Stephen King has shared his thoughts on that, which, you take whatever he says with a grain of salt these days. But he's just like, it doesn't matter. There's the destination that you're going to get to. You can take A or B or C. You're still going to end up at the same place. And I think that that's important. And I don't want to see a movie that's a direct replication of the book that I've already read. And I don't want to see a movie that strays too far from it. And I think they found the perfect middle ground here.
Yeah, but when you're talking about it especially for Pet Sematary, is the overarching theme of it isn't about scaring the shit out of you. It's about grief. And it's about mortality. That's the whole point of Pet Sematary is, that concept of, not in a weird way, it's like that Fountain of Youth thing. It's like, if you can bring somebody back,
Yeah.
you know, do you want to do it? At what cost? And that's the whole point of this thing.
It's a classic horror story.
Exactly. It's not about you know, spooky shit coming out of nowhere, or, you know, in a weird way, like summoning something. It's about dealing with grief, and I think that's
And the
what's
effects that's going to have on
exactly,
you.
and that's kind of what's lost on a lot of people watching these films is, you know, why isn't this more scary when you're looking at it? Is, you know, this is about, you know, dealing with your mortality, basically. And I think they did a really good job of that whole concept, especially with how Jason Clarke, right?
Yeah, and
With how he acts the entire film. I think Jason Clarke is one of the best parts of this film. I found he was very believable as a grieving father the entire time.
I feel like I am 100% in the minority here, and I'm a Jason Clarke fan. I thought he sucked for 50% of this movie.
Really? I liked him a lot.
And like, even the people who are positive about this movie say, like, Jason Clarke was great. And to my opinion, like, in my opinion, he's like the equivalent of oatmeal. Like, he's like so fucking boring. And
Yeah.
He's done that in a lot of movies, but I've always been rooting for him because he always ends up in movies that I would like to see. But I feel like about at the 50% mark of this movie, he really ups the ante, and you really see him progress. And I loved him in the second half of this movie, but the first half, I'm like, man, this dude is just putting me to sleep. He's an energy vampire.
but all of that, and I think that's not only him, that's the entire film, is it's setting you up. It needs to give you, this is why this is that white picket fence kind of deal with the family and everything, and it's giving you all that. Now, of course, you've seen that in a million other films, and why would it make him overly interesting at the start of the film? Because the whole point of the destination of this film is him dealing with his grief. So why would you make him like super interesting at the start? That's where I'm getting at.
Well, I feel like that's one of the places they could have improved on to make this movie better, because that's something they could have improved on from the original, because he's not interesting in the original one either. And like, even in the book, he's not all that interesting. It's like, this is a known horror trope where, you know, the guy they're not interesting until this happens. The thing till the tragedy happens. But the thing about Pet Sematary is 50% of it is build up. Like, this is a movie that you need to be patient with, and it's a book you need to be patient with. It's just the story itself. It takes a while to get to the point where it's going to turn into where you're going to find the horror. But I feel like I feel like people might be too desensitized at this point for Pet Sematary. I feel like it's one of those stories that might just not be landing for people in this current
just
climate.
Because of the pacing of it?
I think the pacing, and I think it takes too long to get, like, I think people have short attention spans. Especially, the thing is, like, this is a major Hollywood release too. Like, so that's the other, when I'm looking at Rotten Tomato scores dropping, and, you know, you see the audience scores, I'm like, yeah, of course the people who want to go see the late, and I don't mean to shit on, but like the latest rock movie, they're not going to love Pet Sematary. Like, I feel like they take their time here, but in doing that, they also still rush somehow. Like it takes too long. It takes. I feel like they could have tightened up the first little bit, yet they're still rushing over things to get to the exciting stuff. I don't know. The first half wasn't great for me, but I feel like once the tragedy happens, it really takes off.
Well, maybe it's because they took so long to get to something where a lot of people don't find that to be a significant enough climax for them.
Well, the thing is also, like, there's all of my favorite horror movies are build up, and then 10 minutes of amazing horror. But the thing is, like, with these major Hollywood movies, it feels like they can't. It feels like they were trying to balance the happy medium there, and I just feel like they didn't really.
So it's kind of like the fight between two guys who are more indie directors.
Yeah, and they're indie guys who are trying to do a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, exactly, and it's that push and pull of that whole thing.
Yeah, and you can see where, like, I actually don't know if there was any studio interference. I know that they didn't have like and they didn't have final decision on what was happening in the script and everything. So.
But I mean, and this is just me speaking for them, whether this is true or not, is I feel like a lot of those guys who are, because it's become such a common thing, is that you're getting these guys who did maybe one or two indie films are all of a sudden getting these big budget things, and they're kind of held to that standard of like, oh shit, we have to do these certain amount of things to make a movie that everyone's going to enjoy.
Yeah, they're trying to achieve mass appeal, which is the problem.
Yeah,
Like,
because I know that deep down the guys who can do Starry Eyes can do some really crazy shit.
yeah, they're
I feel
effective
like
with gore.
yeah, and they're very effective with everything they do. Like I can't say enough good things about Starry Eyes, but I feel like they're kind of looking at it in a way where like, okay, we have to hit these certain things because, especially if you're looking at Stephen King titles like 1922 did this, Gerald's Game did this, It did this. We need to hit these certain things to make it enjoyable for the people who are seeing it.
Yeah.
And maybe not as much for Gerald's Game or 1922 because there was more of Netflix things where they were allowed to take the time, but this is a big screen thing, so you have to give some...
You're kind of expecting a big...
you need some flash and bang.
Yeah, and that's like, I'm not saying that I hate the decisions that they made. You know, overall I like this movie. I liked it quite a bit, and but I just where was he getting with the fucking... Yeah, I don't know. Let's move on to spoilers here. Do you guys want to move on to spoilers?
Yes.
Okay. So
First of all, fuck the trailer.
I agree.
Seriously, and I know I even saw like an interview with the filmmakers where they were trying to defend it, and it's like you knew they were coerced into even having to do that because no one in their right fucking mind, especially a filmmaker with any fucking brain in his head, is going to be happy about that, especially. Maybe if it wasn't a big deal in the movie itself, but they literally, the scene where where Ellie gets hit by the truck, they built it to make you think Gage was about to get hit by the truck and to suck you in and go, right, I've seen this story before, Gage is going to get hit by that truck, boom, pull him out of the way at the last second, bang, it causes Ellie's death. Like, that was meant to be meant to fuck you up. Like,
that was meant to not be in a trailer.
Yeah.
But so how do you... I was talking about this with my friend Seb. He brought up a good point, though, that like the only justification I can see for that is there would be a lot of those hardcore fans, especially Stephen King, of all people, has those hardcore fans where they want people to... the source material is scripture. Just follow this. Can you... Like, in my mind, I think if I was in the theater and I didn't know that was coming... that would be the moment where I'd be like, holy fuck, it's on. Like, yes, I'm stoked on this. I would have been excited about it because I'm like, it's something different. They're killing Ellie instead of Gage, whatever. I wouldn't have fucking cared about that. But then there's other people who, that would have been the moment they crossed their arms and those arms would never come on.
Well, maybe. I mean, you might have lost them there, but it's like, I mean, the reason they do it is because people can't go see a movie unless they know exactly what's going to happen in that movie. That's why trailers are built that way now. So, I mean, that is an interesting point.
Well, I mean, if you're kind of going on something that did basically the same thing, not to come around to Terminator again, but the last Terminator film, they gave away in the trailer
everything.
What the fuck's his name? It was
John
actually
Connor?
John Connor was actually a Terminator.
Yeah.
That's the biggest point of your movie,
and
where
they
everyone's
show him
going to
on
go,
fire.
Yeah, you immediately go, oh, I already know he's a T-1000 going into this.
And that's
why
Jason Clarke.
Yeah, why the fuck am I going to care?
No, it's like, I think one of the worst examples of that ever is Quarantine. The box cover of Quarantine is the final shot of the movie of her being dragged away. Like, it's like the remake of Wreck.
Yeah, it's just, so you're waiting the whole time. It's like, when's she gonna get hers?
You're watching her die.
Yeah, I have a Criterion version of Throne of Blood, like the Kurosawa movie too, and it's the final shot from the movie where the samurai's getting like hit with 1,000,000 arrows or whatever, and I was like, what kind of fucking cover was this?
Exactly.
See, and that's for like, I think stuff like that is more for the people that they know are going to buy it because they liked it, right? So you can look at it subjectively and go, yeah, I already know that happened, but that's a really cool cover.
Sure.
But for everybody else, you're selling everybody else really short by not giving them the chance to view it as you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about spoilers here. So now we're talking about spoilers. I'm going to give you a countdown. All right, so overall thoughts about the movie. Like, so now we can talk about it with no restraints or anything. Like you were saying before, my main gripes at the movie lie with Pascal. Like, I thought he was fucking terrible in this movie, and I thought that there was no point. Like, he was so underutilized that it was irritating. And
well, it becomes to the point where it's like, what's the point of that character?
There's no reason for
There is a reason for him in the original material.
Yeah. And in the original, he, like, not to be that guy who, like, we have to compare it to the original.
For sure.
But like in the original, like Pascal is like he's like channeling like American Werewolf in London styles of like with the commentary that he's having, like talking in Lewis's ears and everything. And in this, it's like like Pascal at his best is the scene where Gage sees him, but the mom doesn't.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like who gives a fuck? Like, and
they didn't set up enough of him to warrant that, which was a very cool scene, but it wasn't warranted.
Yeah, but the gore was cool. His brain coming out,
that
sweet.
was cool.
That was good. I was like, all right, off to a good start.
Yeah, but they didn't give you a why that was happening.
But that whole fade out thing that happened, I don't know if you guys remember that, but like when there's like a scene where he's in the room and then he starts fading out, I'm like, man, that looked like Windows 95. Yeah, like it looked rough. But I couldn't buy into like that. That was my main issue with the movie for most of the movie. Like obviously comparing like Judd's, like John Lithgow was great.
He was great.
I think he was
one of the best parts of the movie. But I think that the star of the movie is Rachel, the mom. Like I thought she fucking stole the show. I thought she was great, and the same with Ellie. Like I thought that that's a good choice to have Ellie, because that adds a whole new. I feel like the most effective scene in the movie was the bathtub scene.
Yeah, well, I would definitely say like I have again mixed feelings about the choice to substitute Ellie for Gage.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to go, okay, fine, yeah, let's do something different here. I'm willing to not cross my arms and go, no, that's not how it happened.
Yeah. Not my Pet Cemetery.
But some of that stuff was awesome in the sense that like she is a little bit older, so she can verbalize.
There's more cognitive.
Yeah, have a conversation there, and then he's with her in the house for a while before Rachel comes back, so they can have a conversation. The idea that I actually thought the makeup could have gone further in the bathtub, where you kind of see like her face is drooping a little. She got hit by a fucking semi truck.
I know. Yeah.
So like that would have all been like mortuary pancake makeup, as opposed to just like there's a few staples in her head.
Yeah,
well, no, her eyes were drooping.
I like the touch of the eye. Mm-hmm. I liked her eye drooping. Like I thought that was a cool touch. But like you said, she was annihilated by an truck. Like,
and maybe it's better that it didn't go further because she has more scenes after that. But I remember thinking at the time, like,
if it was realistic, she would just be like she'd be a thing of Jello. Just
you got to look at it from a storytelling point of view. Is she can't be mangled to an extent because you still have to have that touch of humanity with it. Well, and I think that was the best part is that when they substituted. So that Gage wasn't it, is that, you have this whole layer of, especially at the start when they're talking about death and she doesn't really understand it and they're trying to explain it and he's talking about
the whole point of the story.
There's no heaven and all this stuff. And then to see her coming back and her kind of realizing what's happened, I think that's some of the best parts because it turns her from to take a wrestling term, takes her from being a face character to being very much a heel right away. Right. Is her understanding, her mortality is like, oh, I shouldn't be. She basically turns kind of into Frankenstein's monster, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the best parts about the book was Gage's ability to fuck with people. And and that's why, man, my jaw was on the fucking floor. Because I've read this book before, but it's been 15 years. And I don't remember, because I remember the movie more because I've always just revisited the movie. But the scene where Gage is killing Judd, he's talking about, he's standing over him talking about how his wife is getting ass fucked in hell. Yeah. And like how he took around at her that morning and saying that she loved being ass fucked by everyone except for you. I'm like, holy fuck! Like,
see, and I'm glad that's not in there.
Yeah, but
imagine for sure that makes sense. But imagine, to not have that.
Imagine a 2-year-old saying that shit. Like, I'm like, okay, so that's so fucked up. But I like the idea that that like Ellie can truthfully taunt the family, and I love how Amy Simons isn't that's the character who plays Rachel. I love how she doesn't she's not on board from it from the very get-go.
She gives her that hug and she's like, this is an abomination,
and it shows the effects of the Pet Cemetery and like the burial grounds, the Micmac burial grounds,
because she hasn't been exposed to it. Yeah, exactly. So you have Jason Clarke who's kind of living with it right away and has some understanding. And for her, she's dealing with her own PTSD issues almost. But yeah, that scene is probably one of the most pivotal and best scenes of that film is her rejecting her daughter. It's amazing. You should have kept this buried. And her rejecting the kid right away. And then having the daughter immediately go from like kind of evil to very
She's straight
evil
up,
right
yeah.
away. Yeah.
I love that. And like, but the thing is also, so I sat beside my sister Tara, who is a mother of two, and I know you're a mother.
I'm a
You're
mother
a mother of two.
You're
I'm
a
the
mother
mother
of
of
two.
dragons.
Yeah, you're a mother of two now. But no, like my sister's like she's always been into like horror, but like I would never recommend her like the hardcore shit that I watch, and like that's why even I told her I was like, don't watch Hereditary. I felt like she would hate Hereditary because I'm like, I feel like you couldn't handle that because she's like, honestly, Mitch, I don't give a fuck. Like kids stuff doesn't even bother her because she's like, I know it's a movie. Like it does, like she's just
She can
a fan.
separate, yeah.
But I watched her fucking squirm in that bathtub scene, and like that's what made it so effective. Is like how heartbreaking it was watching him like comb her hair, and then I know that she should have technically have been a puddle, but like the staples in the back of her head, and like him realizing just how fucked up that he's like.
Yeah,
I love
it is a good moment.
Well,
and
I mean,
that's where I feel like Jason Clarke, like where you said he was great in this movie. That's where I'm
Yeah.
like, man, he is really turning it on now.
Yeah, you're watching him break down, and I mean, I'm not a parent. I have zero parental instinct, but just watching that is you're watching a guy who like he wants this more than anything in the world, and watching him kind of gloss over all these, I guess you'd say, letdowns in it is like, I have my daughter back, but she's not, you know, what I thought she would be.
Well, he realized he fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's like he won't give up on that long distance dream, no matter how much it gets worse and worse. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship with somebody who you know it's not going to work out, and you keep trying to make it work.
Yeah.
So when weird shit comes up, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. He does like he eases into it from church, whereas like Rachel is thrown into it in like that moment or whatever.
Yeah, because they're not even as aggressive to Church as they are in the original.
No,
because don't they kill Church in the original? I'm pretty sure.
No,
I'm trying to remember.
Well, like he kills him after he.
Yeah,
like, the second time. Or
yeah,
whatever.
he kills him the second time
rather than letting him off it. Like he
Yeah,
like,
he
takes
ejects
him, out
him
into
with
the field.
Yeah, that's what I remember from that is, you know, even having that not happen where he's kind of like, oh, this cat's really fucking violent. Let's just keep it around in the house, but nobody touch it.
I've seen so many people online saying that Church like served no purpose in the remake. I'm like, what? I feel like Church is one of the best parts of the movie. Like the cat kills it.
Well, he's the catalyst for the thing starting, as I just said.
Yeah.
And then later on, he's working in
Unison,
concert
yeah.
with Ellie
Yeah.
to fuck with Judd.
Well,
and like,
the way I explained it to one of my friends who's asking about it is I was like, Church is basically like the harbinger of death.
Sure.
Is when he's around, you know bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's a weird thing where even though they don't say it at any point in the film, you feel like he's conscious and aware of everything that's happening and is just there to like, hey, let's join this, you know, almost like join me in whatever I am.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's why he like courses her into the road and everything. Like that's
he courses her into the road 100%.
he's the clutch of it all. Like
Yeah, he's more sentient than like OG Church.
Exactly. He's becomes this completely different thing, and he's there when several people are killed, and even at the very end of the film, you know, there's that very pivotal scene which I think is awesome, is when he jumps on the car, and they're all walking toward. It's like he basically was the leader of all that happening.
Should we get to that?
Well, yeah, sure. I'm gonna say like. I liked some of that Ellie stuff as we talked about. Some of it I didn't like. I really didn't like the fighting. I thought it was cheesy and like using, I don't know, whenever they speed up the character, it looks shitty to me. But that last shot, like anything that I didn't like in that in the sort of since the switch from Ellie to Gage, anything that I didn't like about that stuff, I was like, okay, that last shot was badass. Like it made up for the shit that I didn't really like about it.
It is. It's badass, but it also negates a lot of the facts of like what it negates the purpose of the book in general, because the whole
sure I got a whole different thing about that, but sorry, go ahead.
What like because we'll talk about that because there's one last thing we got to talk about before we get to the climax in the movie, and then we'll close it off. But we haven't talked about Zelda at all. And that mirror scene I was talking about before, I was so pissed when I saw that. I'm like, there's no fucking way they're doing another mirror gag right now. I'm like, we have seen this so many times.
I was the exact same where I was kind of like, oh no, really?
Yeah, I was like,
they're
that
going
is
for
just the most
that
cliche
low-hanging
garbage.
fruit? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, this is step one in the horror cliche handbook. But I liked how they, even though I don't think that it fully worked, the whole idea of Zelda dropping down the...
It was a nice turn. You would not have expected that.
Yeah, and like that's a jump scare, but I thought that that's a new interesting way of killing Zelda. And even though I like the idea in the original where she's watching her just like throw up and she's like, am I going to save her or just let her die? And like, I think that that's so effective because that means that she's truthfully just like, well, I guess they try and do that in the remake as well, that like she's the reason why she's dead because she was neglecting her.
I feel like that story wasn't fleshed out enough. I feel like the payoff for it wasn't worth what they put into it.
I think a lot of people, you could go to like a lot of people who grew up with horror movies, they tell you that the Zelda in the original Pet Sematary is one of the scariest things that they've seen in movies.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take that away from it. It felt like in the new one they spent so much time setting up some really cool stuff to come from that, and it feels like it never pays off to its full extent, because I agree, it is actually scary.
The best parts of Zelda in the remake are seeing her back like change and like that. I'm like, okay, so there's some cool practical effects.
Because you understand, it's like, okay, this is an actual person, it's not just a creature or something. Yeah, you get that humanity aspect,
and you understand how fucking terrifying that would be to her.
Exactly.
I don't envy them like having to recreate Zelda, as you said, one of the more like iconic like moments of horror films from the 80s. I think that the new version, I didn't mind it, but I felt like it was a real stretch that she would have even like been getting her food from a dumbwaiter and fell in it. And once I was down that rabbit hole in my mind, I was like, this is kind of stupid. Yeah. Whereas the original, even though it is way more mundane, that's what's fucking scary about it, is they left this little girl at home and she had to watch her fucked up sister like choke to death.
It's not a ghost or anything. Yeah, it's a person, and you can look at it as this is a real person that's happening to.
Yeah, I think that's definitely more effective in the original, and like how in the original Zelda's played by a man, and like you can just like that, you can always tell, like even I know that this is a different caliber of horror movies, but like how a man always plays the demon ladies in Insidious and The Conjuring and stuff like that. I'm like, it works. Like it's creepy.
Well, even if you're looking at something like Black Xmas, where it was a man playing the sister or whatever, it does.
So I guess it doesn't always work.
No, I'm not even trying to take away from that or having an argument about that. Is it does make it a little bit creepier when you're supposed to look at it as a woman, but you're like, there's too much masculinity to it, and it makes it kind of foreboding. Almost.
I just think it made her creepier in her makeup in the original, and but I still like I appreciate where they tried to go with it, but like Craig said, it is kind of stupid. Like the whole falling down the dumbwaiter thing was stupid, and but yeah, I don't know.
I feel like they made Judd a little bit too nice in this.
I actually thought the opening scenes he was like seemed like weirdly ominous. And I was like, is that what they're going for here?
Of that, honestly.
I like how interesting, he barked at her, where he's like, get down from there.
Yeah. Well, there was even a moment where he shows up early, and it's not the first time he's in it, but where there's like some kind of foreboding music playing, and like it's kind of like, oh, he's.
I was hoping for more of that, because he did have those sinister aspects, and then went right to like, I'm buddies with all you guys, and it's cool. You know, it felt like he should have had a little bit more of an edge. And that's not saying I didn't like his character. I thought I liked his character I did like his character quite a bit.
I think he's more inviting in this one, like, because
he doesn't have that off.
Well, you can understand why the family would invite him over for supper and everything like that. Like Judd, I love the original Judd, but he's just like, he's kind of just like a redneck.
Yeah, I would say their friendship in the first one is like between Lewis and Judd is like it's a real bright spot in that movie in terms of like what the movie's about and where it goes, and and how they sort of build that friendship. It's kind of a sort of weird unintentional thing.
I don't feel like he was foreboding enough, especially when it came to things with the Pet Sematary. He seemed way too open for how he was talking about it and how it should have been treated. He seemed way too like happy-go-lucky about it. Because you're introduced him at the start where he's like, don't go near all that stuff, and then right away he kind of switches, and then kind of acts like a dunce about it the rest of the time, because he obviously knows tons about it because of bringing his dog back and everything, but he acts like he does act like a dunce for a lot of it, and I feel like he should have been a lot more serious and heavy-handed about it the entire time instead of being so wishy-washy. Yeah, because he as a moviegoer, you're going, okay, this is your guy who's going to give you some exposition about what's going on, and he seems very okay with it, and then once he realizes like, oh, you guys are doing this now, he doesn't act accordingly.
Right.
He's just like, I'm gonna go hide in my house.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough
Okay.
like franticness out of him.
Yeah, but let's going from that. Like his overall, I liked him, and I don't think
he
had
did
any,
a good job.
Yeah, I don't think I had any of those problems. I'm personally happy that he didn't do the accent. I know a lot of people were butthurt that he didn't do the accent, but I think that it would have been like a little forced.
Well, and how can you hold that accent up to Fred Gwynn?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
He did in one scene. What is it? Gooden? What the fuck was it? He
Well,
had
he
after-
had a little flavor here and
yeah,
there.
no.
but he's not
After
gonna-
she got, I don't know. This may be something that I picked up. Is after she got stung by the bee or whatever. He said, "That's a good one."
Yeah.
That was the only
that's
time.
a good one.
Yeah, that was the only time where I was like, okay, that's a
Sometimes,
throwback
Lewis.
to how it originally was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, he does play pretty straight faced.
I love Herman Munster chewing the scenery.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
Sometimes, Lewis, that is better.
Yeah, it's
Fucking
like
love that accent.
His
Yeah,
delivery
I love
on
it too.
that line also felt so like rushed through.
I think
it didn't
he
hold the
had
same
to,
weight.
because he can't. There's no way that it will ever hold the weight that Fred Gwynn had.
I guess so, but yeah, I was expecting a little more. Sometimes Dad is better. Like that. It felt like a throwaway line almost.
Yeah, I think that it was there's no way they could have gone about it like any better than what they did, because it's just like you're just not going to top the original. But
They should have gave it more weight though.
So back to what I was saying. One last thing about like how like I love the mirror gag, how they changed that up a little bit. The other thing was the misdirect of him like looking for Ellie underneath.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
underneath the
Yeah.
bed, and you're expecting him. And that's another thing. I was more pissed originally when the trailers came out. I was like, why is everyone freaking out about the whole Ellie thing? Then I completely flipped the switch. I'm like, no, that would have been an amazing reveal if
Yeah.
I would have went into the theater. I'm with you
Yeah.
100% there. But I was more so like, why do they show him getting his fucking Achilles tendon cut, and then they show it in the trailer? I'm just like, God damn it! Like that's the kind of shit that I hate about trailers. But I love how he goes and he boots the bed and she's not there, and then he goes down, and then there's just that gnarly Achilles tendon.
Yeah,
cut.
that was-
that's a real sick gag. I don't know.
but I like that they did that.
Real
and then,
cool kids.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like that they did that and then didn't hit too hard on other stuff like that. Sorry. Other than like once or twice. Sorry, I've been drinking. Other than once or twice further from that, where you're having the mother getting stabbed and everything, but nothing came close to that level of violence. I don't find, because
Well,
even
besides his head squirting out blood at the beginning.
I guess so, but even when our main character gets impaled as well, it's not as gruesome as that scene was.
I would have liked to see Ellie's head fly. like
Like
I
it's
thought he
fucking
was-
hereditary or what?
Yeah, well, I thought he was going to drop the shovel down, and obviously that's what he wants you to expect.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I thought okay. Now we can talk. And now that we've talked about Jason Clarke and impaled to the chest or whatever, let's talk about that ending. Like, yeah, that ending shot is fucking awesome. Like, it's so cool watching the entire family like crawl up, and I just love knowing that Gage is just gonna get destroyed by his own
Well,
family.
and then it's the whole thing is like, don't open the door unless I come back.
Yeah.
and there he fucking is
with a thing of gasoline.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Which is the wrong
Which is-
route to
which
go
is
if
a
you want
nice-
to bury him after.
Yeah, which is a nice callback though, because the start of the film starts off with that is the house burning and everything in that overhead shot.
Yeah.
and then you don't get it until later.
I agree.
So to go back to the idea of Ellie instead of Gage, like I said, I think it works for a lot of fun reasons, but I think if we're going back to the original, like it works on its own terms for whatever. If there was no other Pet Sematary, that's cool. But I think it really takes away from the story itself, mixed with the fact that it's moving along too fast. So like the prime example I can give you of that is like when Gage dies, it's like he's like a toddler. So it's way like, it's not good when an 8-year-old dies, obviously, that's horrible, but like it's way worse for this toddler. And even Ellie feels that grief in the original movie. So you lose that grief from that Ellie had.
Yeah, because Gage is just kind of a bystander in this entire film.
Right, and so that means he becomes useless in the new version, pretty much.
Well, he is fairly useless to the entire film.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
He's there to be the misdirection.
Yeah, as a plot device, though, he really, I agree with you.
But I think it really, and because of where the movie goes after that and how it ends, it really tears away at the entire idea of grief in the movie. And obviously that is still a theme in this movie, and I think it's handled okay. A lot of the grief that you see in the new version is in conversation and exposition, which kind of sucks. And those conversations are handled well, like when they're trying to explain to Ellie, like, what is there a heaven, what's going on with that, and then how that's called back later after she's like come back from the dead.
Yeah.
But all that stuff is like shown, not told in the original. And you mentioned briefly like the idea that the parents are cut out now. He makes maybe one reference to they never should have left you at home with her. Yeah. But in the original, it's like it's a thing. Like there's a bad relationship here, and so
it's one of the driving forces for him to take Gage to the burial ground.
Right, and so when Gage dies, that increases his grief, but also his anxiety, like the blame that they're all pointing fingers at each other, and you should have been there, you should have been a better dad, well, you're a shitty parent too, all that, all the anxiety and everything that would flow from that, and then like it doesn't sit with that grief long enough in certain parts. So like even after Gage dies, there's some similar scenes, and they do have a couple of scenes in the new movie where it's like the sort of fallout from that. Yeah. But really, it's like a scene where they're lying in bed going like, oh, this sucks kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the original, it's like they go to the funeral, they get into a fucking fist fight.
Yeah.
Like the fucking casket, the baby's hand falls out of the casket in what brutal. Is a horror moment, but also a fucking heart-wrenching grief moment.
Yeah, and you see in the remake, like the most you see from that is the dad, like kind of when he's picking up Rachel to take him to their place for a couple days or whatever like that, you see him just like kind of staring at him, and he's just kind of nods his head. It made me think of that scene in Bruno. Have you seen this? Is terrible. This is terrible. But have you seen the scene in Bruno where he's like he gets a job on Law and Order where he's playing like one of the people on the jury, and he's just sitting there and he keeps shaking his head. And they're like, okay, you got to stop doing that, because the dad is just standing there, he's just like kind of shaking his head and looking at him. I'm like, okay, so like, are they trying to show us that that's still there? They're just not going to show us the relationship.
Yeah. So, and then where that whole plot goes in the original, obviously, is he buries Gage. Gage comes back. Gage kills his wife, and now he's in such a fucking spiral. He knows the ground is sour. He knows what the cause will be, or what the effect will be to that, and yet he buries Rachel anyway, thinking, oh, maybe she's like fresh enough this time. Like he's fucked at that point. Yeah. His grief is driven him into just complete madness, which we lose completely in this movie because it goes a whole different direction from that.
It just
completely
kind of falls into just being a horror movie.
Yeah. Like, so right, which is a great way to say that, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, and it's perfectly enjoyable on its own terms. But to me, Pet Sematary itself is an artifact about grief and death and loss, and like looking into the face of that and what that means. And you lose a lot of stuff with even the Zelda stuff and how much that did fuck her up. She does mention it, but like there's a lot of stuff because it goes so fast. Some of it was because of the changes with Ellie, but some of it's because it just goes so fast. Timmy Baterman.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Basically lost in the movie. Now I read maybe they'll do a prequel and that's why they left him out. But like, again, in the original, the point of Timmy Baterman is it's a fucking scary scene where you first learn like, oh, what does happen when a guy comes back, right? Like, so that sets up, like, that's foreshadowing for what's going to happen in the future, which we lose that in this movie. It's like he reads it on a computer, basically. Or maybe it was quickly mentioned by Judd. I don't remember. But.
Yeah, and like that's one of my major gripes with any horror movies when they like just show you like newspaper clippings or something like that. It's like, let's go to Google and figure this out. Like they do that in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake with Rooney Mara. Like there's so many times where they just go right to the library and they're like, oh, they're gonna get all their answers here. So, but I can't remember. Okay, so did they, in the remake of Pet Sematary, I know they touch on the bull. Like, Judd talks about how there was a bull, a man had a bull and he buried him there. And
right, who got that bull over the barrier? Come on.
Yeah, not only that, but like, I just want to picture, like, I so badly wish we could have incorporated the bull in this. Can you imagine if Church comes back an asshole? Yeah. Imagine a bull. That's just like a recipe for disaster, but... Yeah, let's talk about another thing before we close out is I know one thing Buzi was excited about in the book is you're a big fan of the whole Wendigo storyline. And that is like a very big part of the book. Like I said, I finished the book right before I went to the movie, and the Wendigo isn't like the scenes where the Wendigo would be are very minimal, but they talk about it so much, and I don't think that they explained it enough. Or
no, to me, I felt that was again one of those things that like they were trying to put something in there about it, but it was conversational as opposed to showing us something, and B, it goes by so fast that after I was like, what was the Wendigo?
That was
connection?
kind of a bummer for me, and I don't know because I haven't read the book, but was that such a heavy-handed thing in the book? Because it just kind of flies by in this, where it could have been a cool story thing, but I also understand why they didn't bring it in so much, because it would have added too much more.
Well, it almost could have been a whole separate thread they pulled on to make themselves different from the 89 version.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I thought that they were actually going to do, because wow, I can't believe we haven't talked about how pointless those fucking masks were at the beginning either. Like those kids, like that was 100%.
Well, get off my fucking property is what I'd say to those kids.
Exactly, but
that was more of like trailer fodder than it was
trailer
for
candy.
Well, yeah, it's like
candy.
what a bunch of every time a dog dies, and it happens to be the day you're moving in, like. They like, put on their fucking creepy paper mache masks.
We didn't know these kids would be wandering through here so often.
And you know what? I was like, I'm down for it. Like, I'm excited to see where they're going to go with this. I didn't know that was what they were doing with it. Like, that's it. Like, that scene with them.
Well, then they did the callback where the girl's wearing the mask later, but it makes no sense. Stupid. Where the fuck did she get the mask from? Did she make it?
Yeah, so, like, there are problems in this movie where I'm like, that is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But I wonder if this is a thing where it's going to come out later, is that they had a bunch of extra stuff and it was all snipped. Because it doesn't make sense for them to throw all that stuff in, but especially for these guys who made it. They're consciously aware of what they're doing. Whether, that was a choice that, okay, we have to cut all this sort of stuff, but we have these scenes we need to put in there.
Yeah, it seemed like just like we need some iconic shit to put in this that people are going to think about when they think.
Yeah,
of the movie.
we need something.
We need our Eddie.
Yeah, we need we need our stuff for our comic book designers, for graphic designers to draw a picture of later. So you'll go, I remember that in the movie.
And it's kind of like major blue balls. Like you're expecting them to do something cool, and they don't really do it with it. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that ending shot was fucking killer. Love the idea of Gage getting annihilated by the family just because it's bleak. Like, like I'm famously.
I do like the grimness of that ending.
Yeah, I love the ending, and like it's so much better than. Did you hear what Stephen King's original ending was for this?
No.
Like what he for the screenplay. Fuck, I
do. There's an ending where Gage is wandering down the street and he's about to be hit by a semi, and a woman runs out and grabs him and goes like, "Where are your parents?" And then it ends, which is also kind of a cool idea for an ending.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know. It's a callback to things that happened earlier, and it's more of one of those things where it leaves it so open that your mind can kind of go on with it.
Well, speaking of that, like, what's that family gonna do now? Like, now we're living on a farm and we're a dead family. Like, they're gonna have their own like dead family sitcom, and like mailman's here. Oh, let's kill him and bury him. Become one of us.
One of us.
Yeah. What happens from there?
I like that it left it so open ended though, is that we can have those kind of conversations. Is it going to be funny? Is it going to be serious? Is it going to someone show up and shoot them? Because at some point someone's going to realize all these people aren't picking up their phones anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked that. I especially thought the shot was awesome with Church jumping on the car. Or whatever.
I fucking
like it was just like that. Just looked good, and it just showed like how. I don't know. I thought it was a miserable ending in a good way, but it made me think that I'm like, man, this story is so fucking miserable though. Like I can understand why Stephen King didn't want to release it, even amidst all of the shit he's put out. Just the idea of like actually burying your kid, bringing it back, and then having to kill it again. Yeah, like that's a dark. Like I think we are desensitized.
They sucked a lot of the miserableness out of it in this version. Yeah, that's my problem. That's my main problem.
Yeah,
with this version.
I prefer the other ending where it's him waiting for his wife.
Yeah, I mean, I like that ending, but like the whole movie itself is like they sucked a lot of the miserableness out of it.
Yeah, I missed the mark there a little bit.
Yeah,
yeah, cool. Well, that is Pet Sematary. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add, but. I feel like that's a good spot to have. I guess we can also end off with I liked how grim the ending was, and then how the Pet Sematary cover by Starcrawler comes in, and it's kind of upbeat,
which is the same as like isn't that in the original with the Ramones version? Yeah, well, comes up right at the
Ramones did the original, and then I like this cover.
Yeah, I find the Starcrawler one is it kind of tries to mimic almost how the Ramones one was, where the singer is very disinterested the whole time.
Right,
but at the same time, I think it's a fun cover.
Yeah. It sounds good. But either way, I don't know. I dug it for the most part. I still think people, if you for some reason have listened to all the spoilers and you haven't checked it out. Or wait, should we quickly? Because I put before we close off, I put a poll up on our Facebook page.
Okay.
And I was asking people if they prefer the original or the remake, and I gave them a day to vote, and we got 10 votes.
I was going to say, and that's not a slight to us, it's very hard to connect with people on Facebook. That's why you'll see us posting mostly on Instagram.
Because
they don't. Instagram doesn't hide all of our posts from everybody.
Right.
Facebook's like,
hey, you want everything?
But
Facebook's like, give us some fucking money, okay?
Yeah. Real interesting though. I did not see this coming, but 50-50.
A split right down the middle.
50% people chose the original. 50% people chose.
So 50% of those people are wrong. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. So which one are they wrong? Yeah. So you like the original?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I want to quickly read what people thought about it. Just listeners, just to hear what they thought. But Dwight says the old one, but only because of Fred Gwynn, and I hate the new one. What the new one did with the Timmy Baterman story.
Fair enough.
And then Bryson said, I like both, and I kind of dig the changes in the new one, but have to go with the original right now and need to rewatch both. And then I'm going to pull up our Instagram because I just posted this on 2 different platforms and see what people said.
Hey, while you're looking that up, I just want to say shout out to Lana.
How come?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know, because I'm never on the show. She listens to the show, and
you guys
she's a friend
connected.
that like I've made through this show just online or whatever. So like,
I think
she would appreciate the shout out.
I think that's my favorite part of this podcast is people like networking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lana's written out stuff for her feedback society now, has she not?
Did she?
She wrote a review. She wrote a review for I'm Thinking of Ending Things, or you posted it on the Feedback Society.
I might have posted her blog. I don't remember. I'd have to
it was
look
like
that up.
a while ago. But either way, Lana fucking rules. She's definitely in my top 50 of our listeners.
What a weird thing to make people think about now. Also, on a complete side note, while you're looking that up, I met Bryson's Canadian twin and got a picture with him.
There's a Bryson doppelganger.
There's a Bryson doppelganger in Saskatoon.
Yeah,
and I'm really hoping that I can orchestrate if Bryson comes down here to get them in the same room together to take a picture because they look so much alike.
Yeah. Okay. Beards, Boxing, and Brews. Our friend Darcy commented, said, definitely had some silly scenes in it. He turned his head to the side and exhaled. He must be dead, but it's pretty damn good. Definitely built up the Zelda side plot, which was the best part of the original. The entire movie was way more coherent as well. John Lithgow was incredible as Judd, and switching from Gage to Ellie really paid off as they were able to do so much more. And then Jen Norland says, I like the new one way better than the original. The story makes more sense and the cat is way scarier. And Scott Hamilton said, I thought it began pedestrian, if not milquetoast, and then slid into unintentional parody and a veritable banquet of the hackiest contemporary horror crutches I've seen in a single film in a good while. Made Mick Garris's adaptation Gauntlet look emotionally competent.
I love Scott.
But was he talking about the original? Because Mick Garris had nothing to do with that original.
I don't know what the end
could have
was
been talking
there,
with Sleepwalkers. I'm
maybe.
not sure. Yeah, because that one has cats.
Right.
But yeah, Scott Hamilton said that. So.
And yes, sorry, Lana did write a review of I'm Thinking of Ending Things on the Feedback Society. So.
Yeah, so who's really more on
My
top
apologies,
of Feedback Society stuff?
Well, hey, I got a lot of stuff coming at me, you know.
Well, cool, man. It was awesome having you back on the show. It was fun,
thanks, guys.
Fun going to the movie, and we'll do this again soon. And
cool.
We appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to plug?
No, just check out thefeedbacksociety.com for all kinds of good writing and whatnot. And you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah, and you can find a whole bunch of people who have been on the Terror Table contribute to that website.
Yeah.
So myself included. So yeah, check it out. And thanks. We'll see you guys next time for Book Club. So yeah, see you next week. Stay spooky.